Previously, the war between the righteous and demonic paths shook the Taixuan Sect, forcing hidden powers to finally reveal themselves. Former Sect Master Lü Baitian returned from the shadows, crushed powerful enemies, and reclaimed control of the sect. Meanwhile, Guan continued hiding his true strength, quietly accumulating lifespan while protecting his medicinal valleys. Now, after years of preparation, Guan finally reaches 1 million years of lifespan. With a new system ability unlocked, he leaves the Taixuan Sect and ventures deep into the dangerous Northern Sea Mountains, where his cultivation is about to undergo its greatest transformation yet. Let us continue with Episode 10. Hearing Xianxia say that, Guan nearly lost his composure. He hurried to explain, how could that be? I was only trying to scare you. I would never write a book like that. He had to make this clear, or Xianxia would end up ruining his reputation again. Xianxia stared at him as if she wanted to see straight through him, but Guan remained calm and utterly unashamed. All right, then I believe you, Xianxia said softly. There was something strange in her tone though, and Guan could not tell what she was thinking. Guan walked over to the tea table and began heating water. Only after he set a cup of tea in front of Xianxia did she speak again. Actually, I came to see you about something else. Go ahead. Guan sat opposite her. Xianxia said, I heard that Elder Tian from the Medicine Valley was actually the current Sect Master, Lü Baitian. Is that true? Guan saw no reason to hide it, so he nodded. Come to think of it, ever since the great battle half a year ago, Guzong and Xianxia had stopped coming around. He had no idea whether Lü Baitian had dealt with them. Guzong was easy enough to understand. He was clearly one of Lü Baitian's people. Xianxia, on the other hand, had once cursed Lü Baitian right inside the Third Medicine Valley and openly declared that he wanted to become Sect Master. I want you to introduce me to Sect Master Lü, Xianxia said, looking directly at Guan. As myself, not as a representative of the Dao Heaven sect. Guan frowned and hesitated. Xianxia took a dark red wooden box from her storage bag. This contains purple mist bamboo, a 6th grade spirit tree. A single segment can grow into an entire bamboo forest. If it's planted around the edge of a medicine valley, it will naturally form a purple mist illusion formation. The bamboo shoots are also excellent medicinal ingredients and sell for an extremely high price. What are you doing? What kind of relationship do we have that you need to act like this? Guan asked sternly. Then he put the wooden box straight into his storage bag and continued with a perfectly serious expression. If you need my help, all you have to do is ask. Naturally, I'll help you. Don't do this again next time. Xianxia froze for a moment before covering her mouth and giggling. When she smiled, her eyes truly were beautiful. Guan thought that to himself. Thanks to his joke, the awkward atmosphere between them disappeared, and their conversation soon returned to normal. They talked for a long time before Xianxia finally left. Guan then began walking throughout the Medicine Valley, searching for a suitable place to plant the purple mist bamboo. In the end, he chose the southern mountains along the edge of the valley, and assigned Tang Yu to take special responsibility for watching over it. After that, he began waiting for Lü Baitian to come, not because he was worried about Xianxia, but because he had remembered Lü Baitian's promise. Lü Baitian had told him that if he ever needed anything, he only had to ask. For now, Guan did not want a 4th Medicine Valley. What he wanted were higher-grade medicinal seeds, so he could gradually replace the lower-grade plants. If he could fill the entire 100-li region with high-grade medicinal herbs, his lifespan income would soar. Once he reached 1 million years of lifespan and unlocked a new function, he intended to strengthen himself in every possible way. Time passed. It was not until early autumn that Lü Baitian finally arrived. He wore a black robe embroidered with dragons, his black hair neatly tied beneath a jade crown. His face was dignified and imposing, utterly different from the Elder Tian of the past. Now he fully carried the bearing of a Sect Master. The moment they met, Guan used lifespan detection on him. Lü Baitian, Integration Realm, Level 9, 755, 3150, 3200. Expected. He had indeed reached the 9th level of the Integration Realm. More importantly, his current lifespan was already extremely close to his maximum. It would be very difficult for him to increase it further. A thought suddenly occurred to Guan. Back when Chu Xian had activated the sacrificial formation in the outer sect, had it perhaps been prepared for Lü Baitian? No. The Chu clan had been destroyed by Lü Baitian. It should not have been his doing. While thinking, Guan welcomed Lü Baitian inside. The two entered the room to talk. Lü Baitian took 4 booklets from his storage bag and placed them on the table. I established the Venerable Pavilion according to your suggestion. These contain information on its 4 members. Take a look. Guan immediately picked one up. He discovered that the booklet contained not only the name and portrait of the Venerable Pavilion member, but also a great deal of detailed information, including an account of that person's life. He flipped through them quickly. It looked casual, but in truth, he memorized every detail. The final booklet was about the Fudao Sword Venerable. It contained only his title and records of the times he had taken action. The cultivation world called him the Flying Leaf Sword Immortal, while the Taixuan Sect revered him as the Fudao Sword Venerable. Fudao Sword Venerable, Gu Guai, Xianxia, and Chu Yu. How astonishing. The other three happened to come from the three strongest great clans of the Taichung dynasty, and all three were integration realm cultivators. Guan had never met any of them. At this point, he had already encountered 6 integration realm cultivators: Lü Baitian, Jihantan, Gu Guai, Xianxia, Chu Yu, and Lei Zhen. And even that was still not the full strength of the Taixuan Sect. Guan had never forgotten that the strongest true disciple in the sect's history had already left the Taichung dynasty. He could not help wondering whether the Taixuan Sect had supreme elders as well. While feeling shocked inside, Sect Master, is it really appropriate for you to show me all of this? Lü Baitian smiled. If you ever want to write another book like Investiture of the Gods, you can write one about the Taixuan Sect. The stories about the Taixuan Sect and Taixuan Immortal Venerable are only entertaining anecdotes. They don't go nearly deep enough. We'll talk about that later. I should finish Taixuan Immortal Venerable first, Guan replied. Taixuan Immortal Venerable would contain at least 5 million characters. Yet he only released 1 volume a year, and each volume was barely over 100,000 characters. Sometimes he even took 2 years to publish one. It was still far from finished. More importantly, Taixuan Immortal Venerable earned him a staggering amount of spirit stones, far more than Investiture of the Gods. He had no intention of abandoning it for now. Lü Baitian smiled and did not press him. Guan then brought up Shenzhen's request. Lü Baitian agreed immediately and said he could meet her that very day without the slightest hesitation. Guan then asked, "Sect Master, does what you said before still count? What, changed your mind? You want to become Sect Master after all?" Lü Baitian narrowed his eyes, sounding delighted. "No, you said that if I needed anything I could come to you. I want more high-grade medicinal herbs. I can even grow them for you and return them after they mature. I want to study all kinds of rare flowers and strange herbs under heaven so I can improve my Tao of cultivation." The Tao of cultivation, the corner of Lü Baitian's mouth twitched. He looked at Guan strangely. In the end, however, he still agreed and said he would send someone with medicinal seeds in a few days. After that, Guan stood up, went to find Shenzhen, and brought her to meet Lü Baitian. Once the two of them met, Guan went downstairs so he would not disturb their conversation. This time Lü Baitian activated a restriction. Even Guan could not eavesdrop. They talked for an entire shichen before finally finishing. Lü Baitian left first, while Shenzhen stood beside Guan and watched him go. Shenzhen turned toward Guan and asked with a smile, "Aren't you curious what we talked about?" Guan shook his head. "I don't dare ask, and I don't want to know. I'm afraid of inviting trouble." I gave him a piece of information in exchange for the strongest musical spell in the Taixuan Sect. "Once I master it, I'll perform it for you," Shenzhen said with a smile. With that, she lightly rose into the air and flew toward her cave residence. Guan did not think much about it. Whatever Shenzhen did had nothing to do with him, so long as it did not threaten him. He began waiting for the high-grade medicinal seeds Lü Baitian had promised. 5 days later, one of Lü Baitian's people arrived and handed Guan a storage bag. Guan swept it with his divine sense. The quality was extremely high. There were hundreds of thousands of seeds inside, along with a book and a letter. Guan returned to his room and read the letter. Lü Baitian explained that all these seeds came from his personal resources and had not been taken from the Taixuan Sect's treasury. If Guan grew them well, he could keep half the profits. If he failed, then he would have no choice but to become Lü Baitian's disciple. After reading that, Guan felt deeply helpless. He truly did not understand why Lü Baitian was so obsessed with accepting him as a disciple. Could it be that my personal charm has completely conquered him? In the blink of an eye, nearly 5 years passed. During those 5 years, no major incidents occurred in the Taixuan Sect, and Guan's life became extremely peaceful. Yilan, Shenzhen, Liya, Jiangqiong, and Gu Yu were all busy cultivating, and rarely came to visit. Although the war between the righteous and demonic paths had ended quickly, its influence had been enormous. One afternoon, Gan entered Mystic Valley through the teleportation formation. He was in an excellent mood and even hummed a little tune. He had just calculated his gains. This year, his lifespan income had a chance of breaking 100,000 years, while his total accumulated lifespan had already exceeded 700,000. 1 million years was close. He could hardly wait to become stronger. The moment he entered Mystic Valley, he sensed Liya's aura. Liya was upstairs in the pavilion, drinking tea with Yang Ni. Liya made no effort to conceal his presence, so Guan flew directly to the pavilion. The moment Guan entered the room, Liya spoke first. "Junior brother Gu, I'm preparing to leave the Taixuan Sect and go temper myself in the Northern Sea mountain range. I won't return until I reach the nascent soul realm." Guan could not help asking curiously, What kind of place is the Northern Sea mountain range? Li Ya smiled. It lies north of the Taikang dynasty. The region is roughly as large as the entire Taikang dynasty itself, and is surrounded by 4 dynasties. Demons gather there in great numbers, and it's also a place where cultivators go to temper themselves and search for opportunities. Naturally, it's extremely dangerous. Hearing that, Guan suddenly felt that the Northern Sea mountain range would be perfect for his next breakthrough. Going from the 9th level of the integration realm to an even higher realm would create a disturbance Guan could barely imagine. It would be best to stay far away from the Taixuan Sect. Yang Ni spoke. Aren't you really going there to search for the Northern Sea Kun fish? Li Ya scratched his head. You figured that out too? There were rumors 2 years ago that a Northern Sea Kun fish appeared in the Northern Sea mountain range. I want to take a look. I have nothing else to do anyway. And it gives me a chance to get away from the people my imperial father keeps arranging around me. Guan sat down and asked, what exactly is a Northern Sea Kun fish? Yang Ni glanced at him. You remember the heaven-swallowing darkbird from before, don't you? There are ancient primordial relic species in this world. They're different from ordinary demons. Their bodies are unimaginably enormous, and transforming into human form is far more difficult for them than it is for the demon race. Because of their colossal size, humans in many regions worship them as mountain gods or sea gods. Their movements are mysterious and difficult to track. Guan became even more interested and began asking about other primordial relic beasts still known to exist. Yang Ni casually described a few, and even those brief descriptions were enough to stir his curiosity. Alright, I should go, Li Ya said as he stood. A monster named Hao has appeared in the sect recently. He's only 22, yet he's already preparing to form his golden core. It's unbelievable. I need to work even harder. I refuse to become a stepping stone for him. Hearing that, Guan also found Hao's cultivation speed astonishing. It showed just how much Lü Baitian valued him. The man must have poured a tremendous amount of cultivation resources into Hao. While Guan was still thinking, Li Ya jumped straight out the window and left. Still hasn't broken that bad habit. Guan looked at Yang Ni. He's gone. What about you? I'm not leaving. Following you around planting flowers and herbs has its own kind of enjoyment. It's much better than constantly fighting and killing, Yang Ni replied. Later, in the mountains, Guan personally taught Yang Ni how to sow medicinal seeds. With one hand, he covered the seed with soil, while with the other he pointed at a nearby medicinal plant. That is songbeard grass. Its leaves curl very easily. When wind passes through them, they make a strange sound that resembles singing. When that happens, you need to open the leaves again so the plant's growth isn't affected. Yang Ni crouched beside him, listening seriously, curiosity filling her eyes. When Li Ya left, Yang Ni had said she wanted to stay behind and plant flowers and herbs. Guan had assumed she was joking. To his surprise, she was completely serious. She began taking part in the planting work and frequently asked him questions with remarkable humility. Once her attitude changed, Yang Ni gradually integrated into Mystic Valley and began interacting with the servant disciples. Guan wanted to see whether he could truly make her part of the valley, so he taught her sincerely. From now on, this medicinal garden will be your responsibility, Guan said with a smile as he stood. Let's see what you're capable of. You already know how to protect people. Now let's see if you can protect a garden. Yang Ni did not refuse. Instead, anticipation appeared on her face. Guan then left her there to study the garden by herself. When he returned to Mystic Valley, he saw Chu Jingfeng standing blankly beside the wooden railing, lost in thought. After spending so many years in Mystic Valley, Chu Jingfeng was still like this. If Guan gave him work, he would do it. But whenever there were no chores assigned to him, he simply stood around in a daze. Because of their old friendship, Guan decided to give him a hand. Brother Chu, I recently came across a sword technique. Would you help me take a look at it? Guan asked with a smile, patting Chu Jingfeng on the shoulder. Chu Jingfeng nodded expressionlessly and followed him into a secluded part of the forest. He had once been a sword cultivator. Although his cultivation had been crippled, his memories remained, so he felt he should still be able to offer Guan some advice. He rarely spoke nowadays, but in truth, he felt deeply grateful to Guan. When he first arrived, he had been so ashamed in front of Guan that he wanted to crawl into a hole. Yet Guan had never mocked him. Instead, Guan treated him extremely well, and that treatment had continued for years. It could not possibly be an act. Chu Jingfeng could not imagine what value he still had that Guan might want to exploit, so he could only conclude that Guan was genuinely kind. After all, the other disciples in the valley all spoke highly of him as well. Under Chu Jingfeng's watchful gaze, Guan performed a set of basic sword movements from the Taichung Shocking God Sword. He deliberately made the movements clumsy and unpolished, but even so, Chu Jingfeng's eyes immediately lit up. Valley Master, what sword technique is this? Chu Jingfeng asked, struggling to contain his excitement. As a swordsman, how could he not become excited upon seeing such a profound sword art? Guan scratched his head. I don't know either. Some time ago, when I visited the heaven-mending platform, I happened to meet a senior who passed it on to me. He said that anyone who mastered this sword technique could become a sword god in the mortal world. Chu Jingfeng looked as though he wanted to say something, but stopped himself. Guan smiled. What? Want to learn it? I can teach you. I only have one condition. You need to become the old Chu Jingfeng again. I really miss that spirited swordsman from before. Even if you no longer have cultivation, you can still practice the sword. Aren't there legends of people who never cultivated qi their entire lives, yet reached the Tao purely through understanding the sword? If someone else could do it, why can't you? Chu Jingfeng's expression changed. He fell into a fierce inner struggle. In the end, he agreed. It was not as though he had truly wanted to remain broken forever. He simply could not find any meaning in continuing to live. Now, he suddenly felt that Guan's words made sense. Did losing his cultivation mean he could no longer practice the sword? Should a sword cultivator not strive forward precisely in the face of adversity? And so, Chu Jingfeng began cultivating the Taikong Shocking God's sword. The speed at which he memorized the sword movements made Guan repeatedly praise him in surprise, and that praise gradually restored more and more of Chu Jingfeng's confidence. Late at night, more than 10 li away from Mystic Valley, beside a river, Guan moved aside a pile of broken stones, lifted a stone slab, and slipped beneath it. The slab closed behind him. The surrounding rubble automatically shifted back into place, restoring the scene as though nothing had ever been disturbed. Guan followed the passage all the way into the 8 centuries cave heaven. A black dragon more than 5 zhang long burst from the underground river and quickly flew toward him. As usual, Guan took out the corpse of a demonic goat and placed it on the ground. Hao Dragon opened its mouth and breathed out raging flames, beginning to roast the meat. In another 2 or 3 years, I'll take you outside. How does that sound? Guan asked with a smile as he rubbed Hao Dragon's head. For his next breakthrough, Guan planned to release Hao Dragon into the Northern Sea mountain range so it could survive there on its own. He had once wanted Hao Dragon to learn a transformation technique, but unfortunately he had never found such an art. He had also taught Hao Dragon the demonic shadow divine art, but even after years of practice, the dragon still had not mastered it. The moment Hao Dragon heard that it would finally be allowed outside, it stopped roasting the goat meat and eagerly began asking where they would be going. Guan gave it a simple description of the Northern Sea mountain range, which only made Hao Dragon yearn for the place even more. He warned it that once it went outside, it was not allowed to reveal his existence or the existence of the 8 centuries cave heaven. Hao Dragon immediately promised it would keep the secret. In truth, even if the secret was exposed, it would not matter much. By the time Guan returned from the Northern Sea mountain range, he would almost certainly have surpassed the integration realm. At that point, even if the entire Thousand Autumn Pavilion came after him, they could forget about taking his azure vine tree. Of course, Guan trusted Hao Dragon to keep its mouth shut. You need to cultivate properly from now on. Don't get eaten by some demon the moment you go outside, Guan teased. Hao Dragon proudly raised its head. How could a dragon possibly be eaten by a demon? Guan rubbed its head, then walked toward the azure vine tree. He attached great importance to this 7th grade spirit tree. Every time he entered the 8 centuries cave heaven, he inspected it carefully to make sure nothing had gone wrong. Standing beneath the tree, Guan looked up at its branches. After watching for a while, he suddenly frowned. He had just seen one branch tremble. The movement had been extremely slight, but it had definitely happened. Hao Dragon was still roasting goat meat nearby, so it could not have been responsible. Could this tree be about to develop a spirit? The more Guan thought about it, the more plausible it seemed. This was the sacred tree of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. It had to possess extraordinary qualities. Developing sentience was hardly impossible. Guan continued staring at it, but the azure vine tree showed no further movement. It was almost as if what he had seen earlier really had been an illusion. He swept it with his divine sense but found nothing abnormal. Still, doing so served as a warning to the tree. Whatever it was planning, it had better not cause trouble. Only half a shichen later did Guan finally leave. From now on, he had one more thing to watch. Yet the possibility of the azure vine tree developing a spirit did not worry him. On the contrary, he felt a little excited. Spring passed, then returned again. Roughly 2 years went by. Guan's accumulated lifespan reached 950,000 years. He felt confident that he could break the 1 million year mark before the end of the year, and the thought filled him with anticipation. He was unusually energetic throughout the entire year. One day, Yi Lan came to Mystic Valley to visit him. The two stood by a window in the pavilion, watching the disciples work below while chatting. Yi Lan told him about the major events that had recently taken place in the cultivation world. and Guan listened with great interest. A new faction called the Ephemeral Flower Sect had appeared. No one knew where its headquarters were, but its cultivators had been continuously attacking demonic sects, seizing cultivation arts, spells, treasures, and other resources. The demonic path had been plunged into a bloody storm. Curiously, the righteous sects had not been affected at all. Some claimed that the Ephemeral Flower Sect was secretly backed by the Taixuan Sect. The reason was that a powerful demonic cultivator had appeared among its ranks who killed enemies with leaves, making him remarkably similar to the Taixuan Sect's Fudao sword Venerable. Hearing that, Guan felt deeply annoyed. Why does someone keep pretending to be me? You've told me so many stories, yet none of them involve anyone targeting the Taixuan Sect, Guan said with a smile. Looks like our Taixuan Sect has finally established an absolutely overwhelming reputation. He was genuinely pleased. The more peaceful the Taixuan Sect became, the better. That way, he could quietly grow flowers and herbs while becoming stronger. Another 50 years of farming, and surely no one across the 9 dynasties would be stronger than him anymore, right? Yilan thought for a moment. Actually, there is one matter. A cultivator calling himself the Ghost Taoist has appeared. He walks somewhere between righteousness and evil. In the past, he liked robbing the rich to help the poor, and his reputation grew larger and larger. Half a year ago, he publicly declared that he intends to come to the Taixuan Sect and steal the Xuanqing tree. He claims the Taixuan Sect monopolizes 90% of the Taixuan dynasty's cultivation resources and violates the Heavenly Tao. He wants to steal the Xuanqing tree and replant it on the outskirts of the Heavenly Marsh. The Xuanqing tree? Guan immediately frowned. That was the 7th grade spirit tree the Taixuan Sect had rewarded him with. It had already fully matured. How could he possibly allow someone to steal it? This ghost Taoist was clearly courting death. Still, since the man's actions had at least some chivalrous spirit behind them, Guan would spare his life. But he would absolutely give him such a fright that he would never dare return. Is this ghost Taoist powerful? Guan asked curiously. Of course he is. How else could he offend so many people, steal so many treasures, and still be alive today? Yilan shot him a look. Fair enough. Why am I even asking her? She doesn't know what realms exist above divine transformation either. Guan smiled, and instead asked about her recent cultivation, wanting to know whether she had been diligent. No matter what, there would eventually come a day when they had to part forever. Still, he hoped the day when he and Yilan faced separation by life and death would come as late as possible. The moment he asked about her cultivation, however, Yilan immediately began lecturing him in return. She clearly had the same thoughts as he did. She wanted Guan to cultivate seriously and extend his lifespan. Before long, the two were bickering back and forth. After some time, Yilan suddenly asked, "Senior brother, do you know the current emperor?" Guan raised an eyebrow. "Junior sister, why are you asking that?" The emperor has officially established the Spring Festival. Starting this year, it has spread across all the provinces. The rituals and customs are exactly the same as the Spring Festival you created, Yilan said seriously. Guan put on a disappointed expression. "I only heard about it from some nameless old man myself. Besides, we've been celebrating the Spring Festival for so many years. It's only natural that other people eventually heard of it. In any case, the meaning behind the festival is good." Yilan found that reasonable, but she still warned him. "Recently, our superiors ordered us to collect more information about Emperor Li Xuandao. They have also increased the number of missions assigned to disciples sent to Changzhou. It looks like the higher-ups have designs on the imperial throne." "What do you mean? The sect wants to seize the throne?" "Not exactly. The crown prince is one of our sect's disciples, but he has already been crown prince for 100 years. Naturally, the sect wants to help him along." Guan could not help glancing toward the forest 100 zhang west of them. Yang Ni was watering flowers and herbs there. He had no idea whether she was secretly listening. The two continued talking for a while. Then Yilan closed the window, apparently intending to say something else to Guan. She even started getting a little handsy, earning herself a stern lecture from him. Yilan glared at him resentfully before leaving. Guan watched her disappear, but his thoughts had already drifted toward the northern sea mountain range. He needed to visit the scripture pavilion and obtain a map so he could prepare for his breakthrough. He also wondered what realm came after integration. Guan went downstairs and was about to head toward the teleportation platform when Yang Ni suddenly stopped him. She transmitted her voice directly into his mind. "Be careful of the crown prince. If he learns about your relationship with Li Ya, he will definitely come looking for you and plot against you. Isn't the crown prince supposed to be kind and virtuous? Senior brother Li speaks very highly of him. Their relationship should be quite good, shouldn't it?" Guan asked through voice transmission, sounding confused. Yang Ni replied softly, "That's only because Li Ya is an idiot. Over the years, the Crown Prince has sent many hidden guards to assassinate him. I stopped them all. Then why didn't you tell senior brother Li so he could be more cautious? Because that was his father's intention. His father is afraid of alerting the snake by beating the grass. If the two sides openly fall out, the Crown Prince will immediately force the Emperor to abdicate. His father's cultivation is mediocre, and he's no match for the Crown Prince. Once the Crown Prince ascends the throne, Li Ya's situation will only become even more dangerous. Yang Ni's answer left Guan not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Li Xuandao was nearly at the Voidvolt crossing realm, yet in her eyes he was still no match for the Crown Prince? Thinking about it that way, Li Xuandao was practically one of Guan's people too. To this day, Li Xuandao had never revealed his true cultivation. The only reason Guan knew his actual realm was because of his golden finger. I understand. I'll be careful around the Crown Prince, Guan replied through voice transmission. Yang Ni nodded and stopped blocking his way. Watching Guan's departing back, she gently shook her head. Why have I actually started caring about this brat's safety? Ever since she learned that Guan also controlled a medicine valley in the inner sect, Yang Ni had felt that his identity was far from simple. At the very least, he was definitely being looked after within the Taixuan Sect, which meant it would be difficult for anything serious to happen to him. She soon stopped thinking about it. The dusk flowers she had personally planted were about to bloom in the next few days, and she was greatly looking forward to seeing them. Elsewhere, Guan entered the third medicine valley and went straight to the Xuanqing tree. The tree had already grown into a towering giant with lush foliage. The white spirit mouse was dozing beneath it. Ever since the Xuanqing tree had grown enough to provide shade, the mouse rarely ran around anymore. It simply slept beneath the tree all day. Guan did not dislike that. In fact, he was rather looking forward to seeing what might happen. Lü Baitian had once told him that the Xuanqing tree could not only strengthen the spiritual energy of an area, but could also enhance one's comprehension while meditating beneath it. If the white spirit mouse slept under the Xuanqing tree every day, could it perhaps enter the Tao through its dreams? Worth experimenting with. If it worked, Guan might start taking naps beneath the tree himself. He took a primordial gold-devouring insect from the insect pouch at his waist and let it fly into the tree. Then he found Xiaoshuan and instructed him to place 100 jin of iron ore beneath the tree every month to feed the insect. One of Xiaoshuan's best qualities was that he never asked too many questions. He simply agreed. After inspecting the Xuanqing tree, Guan checked the human face tree and the purple mist bamboo as well. Once he confirmed that all these precious plants were developing smoothly, he began inspecting the rest of the third medicine valley. The third medicine valley now contained a large number of high-grade medicinal herbs. When Lü Baitian had visited the previous year, Guan had deliberately asked to increase the number of servant disciples. Lü Baitian approved the request immediately, raising their number to 300. Even with 300 workers, Guan still felt short-handed. But if he wanted to increase the number further, he would first need to produce enough results to justify it. He did not return to the pavilion until dusk. That day he harvested another batch of medicinal herbs and gained several thousand years of lifespan. He was getting closer and closer to the 1 million year milestone. 1 month later, early in the morning, Guan finished leading the Mystic Valley disciples through their exercises and returned to the pavilion. He spread a map across the table. It had been personally drawn by a powerful Taixuan Sect cultivator and contained restrictions within it. When Guan inserted his divine sense, he could see the terrain in extraordinary detail. It reminded him of using a full virtual reality map in his previous life. No wonder it had cost him 5 high-grade spirit stones. It was absolutely worth the price. Guan immersed himself in the map and began searching for a suitable breakthrough location. He remained focused until noon, when a visitor arrived at Mystic Valley. Yang Ni transmitted her voice to him. "The Crown Prince is here. Be careful how you handle him. I can't reveal myself." Hearing that, Guan slowly put away the map, stood and walked out of the pavilion. From the entrance, he looked into the distance. A man in white robes approached with a folding fan in hand. His bearing was graceful, a gentle smile on his face. At first glance, he resembled a weak scholar. Guan immediately used lifespan detection Li Dai, Nascent Soul Realm Level 1, 189, 960, 1250. He did not cultivate any special concealment technique. His cultivation matched what it appeared to be. Reaching the nascent soul realm before the age of 200 was enough to qualify him as a genius. Li Dai did not immediately approach Guan. Instead, he walked toward Chu Jingfeng, who was inspecting a garden near the wooden railing. "Chu Jingfeng. Long time no see," Li Dai called from a distance. Chu Jingfeng turned his head, his brow tightening. The two met and exchanged greetings. Li Dai laughed freely, drawing the attention of the other disciples in the valley. Chu Jingfeng was visibly tense around him. Most of the conversation consisted of Li Dai recalling past events while Chu Jingfeng occasionally responded. They spoke for quite some time before Li Dai finally approached Guan. Standing before the pavilion, he cupped his fists toward Guan above. "I am Li Dai from Changzhou. May I ask whether you are Valley Master Guan?" Guan returned the greeting. "Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. I am Guan. Would you like to come upstairs and talk?" Li Dai smiled and nodded before entering the pavilion. The servant disciples immediately became excited. They had never expected this visitor to be the current Crown Prince. Although they had already entered an immortal cultivation sect, they were still extremely curious about the heir to the imperial throne. Why had the Crown Prince come to see their Valley Master? Several disciples surrounded Chu Jingfeng and asked how he and the Crown Prince had known each other in the past. Guan and Li Dai talked inside the room for a full half shichen. When Guan escorted him downstairs, Li Dai was all smiles. Before leaving, he even took Guan by the hand, which made Guan rather uncomfortable. "Junior brother Gu, you and I truly hit it off the moment we met. The next time I return to the Taixuan Sect, I must come find you for another long conversation," Li Dai said warmly. He looked completely guileless. Guan agreed, then watched him fly out of Mystic Valley. Their conversation had contained nothing particularly important. Li Dai truly seemed to have come simply to make a friend. They had even talked about Li Ya, and every word Li Dai spoke about him had been full of concern. If Yang Ni had not warned Guan beforehand, he might genuinely have believed the two brothers had an excellent relationship. Until the moment he left, Li Dai neither made any request of Guan nor attempted to recruit him. Guan could sense a divine transformation cultivator hiding in the nearby mountains. Presumably, that person was Li Dai's protector. Roughly 10 li after leaving Mystic Valley, the smile disappeared from Li Dai's face. His gaze turned gloomy. An old man in green robes flew over beside him and said softly, "Your Highness, there is a nascent soul cultivator in that valley. I sensed her. It's Yang Ni. Imperial Father actually sent Yang Ni to watch over him, so this man's relationship with him cannot be simple. Go back and investigate his background. Find out exactly what status he has within the Taixuan Sect." Li Dai's voice was cold. When he mentioned Yang Ni, killing intent filled his eyes. The green-robed elder asked, "If he has no backing, should we seize him?" "Wait until I meet the Sect Master. His attitude is the key. If the Sect Master supports me, then we will directly kill Li Ya and Guan and cut away Imperial Father's hidden pieces and foundations." Neither of them realized that Guan heard every word. To Guan, a divine transformation cultivator was no different from an ant by the roadside. "They want to kill me? Interesting," Guan smiled. He did not care in the slightest. Even if he stood completely still and offered no resistance, Li Dai and the green-robed elder would still have no hope of killing him. Guan turned and returned upstairs. Not long afterward, Yang Ni vaulted through the window. Her expression was dark. "He probably sensed my presence. That brat's cultivation art seems to have reached an extremely profound level." Guan asked in confusion, "Do the two of you have some kind of grudge?" "Of course we do. My elder sister's death was connected to his mother. How could I not hate him? Does senior brother Li know about this?" "No. I only suspect it. I don't have proof. This fellow came to the Taixuan Sect almost certainly to establish connections with either the Venerable Pavilion or the Sect Master. Chu Tianqi, who used to support him, has fled. He has no choice but to find a new backer. Then ignore him." Guan took out a book and began reading. Yang Ni stood beside him and asked in surprise, "Aren't you afraid he'll capture you to use against Li Ya?" "What am I supposed to do? I'm not his opponent. His Majesty ordered you to watch over me, and I couldn't refuse. If the Crown Prince wants to kill me, there's nothing I can do to stop him. I might as well pretend none of this happened and enjoy my life in peace." Guan answered casually. His broad-minded attitude made Yang Ni look at him in a new light. "Don't worry," she said. "If he truly tries to attack you, I'll protect you. Just don't run around everywhere." Guan did enjoy traveling around. Sometimes he went to the outer sect city, while other times he visited his medicine valley in the inner sect. Yang Ni did not dare enter either place casually. "Thank you for protecting me, senior. Don't worry. Under the Taixuan Sect's very nose, he probably won't dare act recklessly." Guan smiled at her. Yang Ni nodded without saying anything more and turned to leave. Guan sensed that she had hidden herself in the forest to cultivate. It seemed she was under considerable pressure. Even after spending so many years in Mystic Valley, she could only secretly cultivate late at night. Guan also wanted to become stronger. He opened his status panel and looked at his lifespan. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly, so close. Elsewhere, in a beautiful estate filled with birdsong and blooming flowers, a small stream wound around a pavilion. Lü Baitian and Li Dai sat opposite each other inside. Li Dai picked up a wine pot and poured a cup for Lü Baitian. "You've been crown prince for 100 years. It truly has not been easy for you. Over these years, some of the voices among the common people have reached my ears as well. Lü Baitian said casually as he accepted the wine. Li Dai sighed. Imperial Father has actually done very well. Unfortunately, his cultivation is too weak. He cannot suppress the provincial governors and the great clans across the empire. The Taikong dynasty looks prosperous on the surface, but beneath that prosperity lie countless hidden troubles and dark currents. I want the people under heaven to live better lives. My mother's clan has already agreed to support me with everything they have. Lü Baitian gazed at the nearby stream instead of looking directly at Li Dai. For the Taixuan Sect, it does not matter who becomes emperor. What matters is whether that person proves worthy of the Taixuan Sect's trust. Li Dai immediately assured him, the Taixuan Sect is the orthodox sect of the realm. If I become emperor, the Taixuan Sect may supervise me. Tell your people to stop investigating Guan. Whatever struggles happen within your imperial clan, Guan is not to be involved. Lü Baitian spoke indifferently. The instant those words fell, Li Dai's expression changed drastically. Countless possibilities flashed through his mind. He cautiously asked, which great clan does Guan come from? Guan's cultivation was so low that Li Dai instinctively assumed he belonged to some powerful clan, and had entered the Taixuan Sect simply to live out his life peacefully because his talent was mediocre. He has no great clan behind him, Lü Baitian said. There is only one person behind him, me. Is that enough? Lü Baitian finally turned his gaze toward Li Dai. Cold sweat instantly broke out across the crown prince's back. Less than 7 days after leaving, Li Dai returned to visit Guan. This time, he brought a large number of medicinal seeds with him. Clearly, he had prepared very carefully. Although Guan did not understand why the crown prince had suddenly become so generous, he happily accepted the gifts and even invited him to drink. Their conversation was even more cheerful than before. Until the moment Li Dai left, he still made no attempt to recruit Guan or draw him into his faction. It truly seemed as though he only wanted to become friends. However, after Li Dai departed, Xianxia looked at Guan very differently. This is the first time I've ever seen him treat someone so attentively, she said in a complicated tone. Guan smiled. What can I say? I treat everyone so kindly that people naturally like me. He was not stupid. He guessed that Lü Baitian was probably responsible, but he did not know exactly what had happened. Li Dai had come to the Taixuan Sect in search of backing. There was no chance he would seek support from the great clans, so the Ji clan could be ruled out immediately. Aside from them, only Lü Baitian possessed enough influence to change Li Dai's attitude so drastically. Xianxia had also realized that Guan must have an even more powerful backer behind him. After all, even Li Xuandao himself could not make the crown prince behave this attentively. She could not help wondering just who Guan really was. Best not to report this to His Majesty, Guan said seriously, looking at Xianxia. You've followed me for many years. You should understand my personality by now. I don't want to fight over anything, and I certainly don't want people becoming suspicious of me. Xianxia nodded, then teased. Looks like Li Ya isn't your fortunate encounter. You're his. Come to think of it, if I were one of the higher-ups in the Taixuan Sect, I'd like you too. You will diligently raise enormous amounts of medicinal herbs and never fight for authority or profit. Guan picked up the storage bag the crown prince had given him and took out 100 seeds. He handed them to Xianxia. These are all 5th grade seeds. Plant them carefully. If you raise them well, you'll receive 10% of the harvest once they mature. I'll give you even more seeds in the future. Xianxia accepted them with obvious delight and agreed immediately. Guan looked at her with satisfaction. There were many people throughout his 3 medicine valleys, but Xianxia was the only one who genuinely enjoyed growing flowers and herbs. Xiaoshuan preferred raising demon beasts. The other disciples only worked because cultivation gave them no choice. Guan's expectations for Xianxia grew even higher. Summer passed and autumn arrived. Autumn colors spread across Mystic Valley, Xianxia Valley, and the 3rd Medicine Valley. Autumn in the Taixuan Sect was especially beautiful. Fallen leaves blanketed the mountains, forests, and earth as far as the eye could see. One afternoon near the end of autumn, in Xianxia Valley, Guan used spirit-preserving paper to wrap the medicinal herbs he had just harvested. 3 notifications appeared before his eyes. You harvested deer bone grass, 5th grade, gaining 52 years of lifespan. Your lifespan has exceeded 1 million years for the first time. Enemy lifespan detection has been activated. Enemy lifespan detection. Once activated, the system will automatically evaluate karmic connections. Whenever a living being develops hostility toward your true body, you will receive a notification. Notifications consume no lifespan. Probing the target's lifespan will consume lifespan. Guan stared at the new function in surprise. What a useful ability. This could warn him about hidden enemies before they acted, making it much easier to avoid danger. He immediately activated enemy lifespan detection. For the moment, no notifications appeared. Perhaps it would only begin evaluating hostility from this point onward. Guan's mood became excellent. This function was extremely significant. His many years of waiting had not been wasted. More importantly, he had now accumulated a full 1,000,000 years of lifespan. He could finally use it to break through. His movements immediately became faster. He harvested every mature medicinal herb in Xianxia Valley, then carried everything into the storage building. When he entered, he discovered that all the previous herbs had already been collected. The building was completely empty. He did not think much of it. After arranging the new harvest, he prepared to leave. The moment he stepped out of the storage building, Lü Baitian walked toward him. "Don't rush off. I haven't taught you the Black Tortoise Surging Wave Palm today." By now, Lü Baitian had taught Guan 8 different spells. 2 years earlier, he had decided to start from the beginning and focus on teaching Guan a single art in depth. He simply refused to believe that anyone could truly be this stupid. He was prepared to spend 50 years training Guan, 50 years on a single spell. Even a pig should be able to master it after that long, right? Guan pushed him aside. "Not today, next time." Lü Baitian froze after being shoved away. This fellow dared push him? More importantly, he had actually been pushed back. "No!" Lü Baitian grabbed Guan by the shoulder and refused to let him leave. Guan sighed helplessly and turned around. "I think I've already understood the Black Tortoise Surging Wave Palm. Why don't you see whether I'm doing it correctly? Really? Hurry up and show me!" Lü Baitian immediately released him, his face lighting up with excitement. Guan walked into an open area and raised his palm. With a single strike, a wave of air erupted from his palm. Illusory surging waves appeared in the air ahead, stretching several zhang. Then Guan withdrew his hand. "See? I wasn't lying. I've been practicing properly in secret. I still have something to do today. Next time, I'll show you how to make it even stronger." With that, he leapt into the air and shot toward the horizon. Lü Baitian did not stop him this time. He remained where he stood, frowning. A long time passed. At last, Lü Baitian muttered to himself, "No wasted force when launching the move, no lingering force afterward. This is the state of natural release and withdrawal." After returning to Mystic Valley, Guan first went to the 3rd Medicine Valley, harvested everything that needed to be collected, and then returned to Mystic Valley again. He found Yang Ni and told her he needed to leave for 2 days to make a delivery in the inner sect. Yang Ni suspected nothing. Guan departed at dusk, flying first toward the outer sect city. He made a huge detour before circling back near Mystic Valley and waiting until deep night. Then he entered the 8 Centuries Cave Heaven and brought Hao Dragon outside. Hao Dragon was beside itself with excitement, looking left and right at everything around it. Guan immediately took the dragon away from the Taixuan Sect. Using the limitless traceless Xianxia steps, he circled around the sect and headed toward the Northern Sea mountain range. Hao Dragon found Guan's movement technique strange, but it did not feel particularly shocked. In its mind, Master was simply the person closest to it. It had barely interacted with anyone else and had not yet formed a proper understanding of the outside world. The Northern Sea mountain range lay more than 300,000 li from the Taixuan Sect. Along the entire journey, Guan continuously used the limitless traceless Xianxia steps, traveling at maximum speed without stopping. As soon as they approached the Northern Sea mountain range, Guan set Hao Dragon down. "Master, I'll see you again." With those words, Hao Dragon eagerly rushed away. Guan smiled. He put on a mask, changed into black robes, and continued forward. He intended to travel deep into the Northern Sea mountain range for his breakthrough. The mountain range ran alongside the Northern Sea. Despite its name, the Northern Sea was actually a lake. It was simply so enormous that it resembled an ocean. Guan walked through the air. From a great distance, he could already see the Northern Sea. Moonlight shimmered across the rippling surface while thick mist rolled above the water. No matter how far he looked, the lake seemed endless. Along the way, he watched a massive fish nearly 100 zhang long leap from the lake and twist through the air. It was an astonishing sight. The Northern Sea mountain range contained not only demons and cultivators, but ghosts as well. Guan sensed a battle between 2 fairly powerful cultivators. Both were in the nascent soul realm. He only glanced in their direction before speeding past without stopping. Breakthrough first. Sightsee later. I wonder where Li Ya is. Guan spread out his divine sense while searching for a suitable place. After nearly half a shichen, he entered a remote mountain region and sat beneath a massive tree. There was not a single person within 3,000 li. Even demons were rare. Only wandering ghosts drifted through the mountains. As a result, the entire forest felt gloomy and sinister, thick ghost chi saturating the area. Guan immediately activated the lifespan barrier and concealed himself. Then he opened his status panel. Name, lifespan. 58, 2060. Spiritual roots, supreme grade 5 elements, heavenly spiritual roots, cultivation, integration realm, level 9. Cultivation arts, fire control art, beginning to find the way. Yangwood primordial art, perfected mastery. Xuanhuang dragon chi art, peak perfection. Alchemy, minor accomplishment, eternal Profdown art, yin-yang art unmastered, Tao evolution art unmastered. Looking at that 7-digit lifespan total, Guan felt an enormous sense of accomplishment. He planned to invest 100,000 years each into his spiritual roots, the Yangwood primordial art, and the Xuanhuang dragon qi art before raising his cultivation. As for spells, supreme arts, and divine abilities, he could be a little more conservative. He rarely fought anyway. Guan immediately invested 100,000 years of lifespan into his spiritual roots. No matter what the result was, he would stop there. He absolutely refused to spend any more. You invested 100,000 years of lifespan into your spiritual roots for cultivation evolution. After comprehending the natural laws of heaven and earth for 1,000 years, your sensitivity to the 5 elements has increased. After comprehending the natural laws of heaven and earth for 2,000 years, your sensitivity to the 5 elements has increased. After comprehending the natural laws of heaven and earth for 7,000 years, you finally sense the true meaning of the 5 elements. Your supreme grade 5 elements heavenly spiritual roots have been tempered. After comprehending the natural laws of heaven and earth for 56,000 years, you finally sensed the true meaning of the 5 elements. Your supreme grade 5 elements heavenly spiritual roots have been tempered. Notifications flashed wildly before Guan's eyes. Although he had mentally prepared himself, his expression still darkened. Perhaps upgrading his spiritual roots had been a mistake. Supreme grade 5 elements heavenly spiritual roots were already excellent, but the lifespan was already spent. All he could do now was endure it. Even if no transformation occurred, repeated tempering should still improve his talent. Guan comforted himself with that thought. The notifications continued. After comprehending the natural laws of heaven and earth for 70,000 years, you finally sensed the true meaning of the 5 elements. Your supreme grade 5 elements heavenly spiritual roots have been tempered. Oh, after comprehending the natural laws of heaven and earth for 80,000 years, you finally sensed the true meaning of the 5 elements. Your supreme grade 5 elements heavenly spiritual roots have begun a transformation. Spiritual energy from heaven and earth envelops you as you enter a state of nirvana. After comprehending the natural laws of heaven and earth for 90,000 years, nirvana is complete. Your supreme grade 5 elements heavenly spiritual roots have fused with your body and soul, advancing into the 5 elements treasure body. After comprehending the natural laws of heaven and earth for 100,000 years, your 5 elements treasure body has been tempered. The instant Guan saw the words 5 elements treasure body, his expression changed dramatically. It felt as though a path had suddenly opened after endless darkness. His effort had finally paid off. Excellent. As Guan rejoiced, the spiritual energy beneath the earth began to erupt. Terrifying, violent spiritual energy surged toward him. The disturbance was even more exaggerated than when he had broken through to the 9th level of the integration realm. Sorry, living beings of the Northern Sea mountain range. Things are about to get frightening. Guan immersed himself in the exquisite sensation of absorbing spiritual energy. Across the entire Northern Sea mountain range, living beings began to feel the spiritual energy sinking. In less than 15 breaths, even those near the farthest edges of the mountain range sensed the abnormality. Inside a valley, Li Xuandao sat cross-legged on a formation platform in white robes. Thousands of pill bottles and storage bags were arranged across the platform. Formation flags stood upright around it, while countless additional flags and talismans covered the surrounding cliffs. Li Xuandao opened his eyes and frowned. The spiritual energy is sinking again. What exactly is happening? Why is the same phenomenon appearing even in the Northern Sea mountain range? He muttered to himself, unease visible in his eyes. Inside a cave elsewhere, firelight flickered. Liya sat bare-chested on a boulder, wrapping white cloth around the countless wounds covering his body. Blood continuously seeped through the bandages. He looked horrific, yet never once frowned. A translucent soul floated beside him. It was a tall old man stroking his beard. To endure the poison of the thousand-hand demon vine, your physique has grown stronger again, the ancestor praised. Liya calmly replied, still not enough. Compared to Lucian and Ji Xiaoyu, it means nothing. And now another An Hao has appeared in the sect. I heard his talent is even more terrifying than theirs. The ancestor laughed. They are geniuses by birth, you are different. You are a genius, forged by effort. That does not mean you cannot surpass them. In my view, innate talent is not the most important thing. What matters most is an unbreakable Tao heart and the will to keep advancing no matter how many times you fall. Liya nodded and was about to reply when the fire suddenly began flickering violently. His expression changed. The spiritual energy is weakening? Liya frowned. His ancestor frowned as well. Could this not be man-made at all? Could it be some kind of natural calamity? What would that mean? The old man raised his fingers and attempted to calculate the heavenly secrets. Unfortunately, he obtained nothing. As the spiritual energy throughout the northern sea mountain range weakened, beastly roars began echoing between heaven and earth. Cultivators hiding inside cave residences rushed outside. Even people locked in battle were forced to stop fighting. Beneath the giant tree, 5 colored spiritual lights surrounded Guan until he resembled an enormous luminous egg. He sat motionless within it. He heard the roars coming from every direction, but a disturbance like this could no longer frighten him. This was only the beginning. After upgrading his spiritual roots, he still needed to improve his cultivation arts. Only then would he raise his cultivation. The spiritual energy in the Northern Sea mountain range was extraordinarily dense. The area around Mystic Valley could not compare. Although the energy was beginning to weaken, the mountain range was so vast that the overall impact remained limited. As time passed, Guan began paying close attention to how much lifespan the lifespan barrier was consuming. He could not underestimate the cost. Guan had a feeling that maintaining the lifespan barrier during this round of upgrades would consume a frightening amount of lifespan. He certainly did not want to die, because the barrier drained him dry. Half a Xianxia later, Guan completed his transformation into the 5 elements treasure body. He could clearly feel his entire body changing. His ki and blood had grown stronger. His physical strength had increased. His body generated and circulated spiritual power faster. Even his senses had undergone an earth-shaking transformation. More astonishing still, he felt as though the surrounding spiritual energy of the 5 elements had merged with him into a single whole. The sensation was indescribably wonderful. Guan forced down his excitement. He could study the mysteries of the 5 elements treasure body later. For now, he still needed to keep burning lifespan. First, the Xuanhuang Dragon Qi art. This cultivation art allowed him to conceal his cultivation and aura. In his eyes, it was the most important one of all. 100,000 years of lifespan. Invest. Notifications began flashing wildly before him. The Xuanhuang Dragon Qi art advanced into the Returning Spirit Qi art. Then the Returning Spirit Qi art advanced again into the Innate Rui art. 2 upgrades in succession. Not bad at all. A vast inheritance of memories concerning the Innate Rui art poured into Guan's mind. The Innate Rui art did far more than greatly strengthen his ability to conceal his cultivation and aura. It also awakened a divine ability. Great and small Rui. By wrapping an object in spiritual power, he could enlarge or shrink nearly anything objects, living beings, even his own body. This divine ability was the first thing that made Guan truly feel the profound wonder of the immortal Tao. He became immersed in enlightenment, forgetting everything around him. Far away, Li Xuandao remained seated on his formation platform. He took out a compass and began performing divination. The needle spun wildly. His expression gradually grew more solemn. After a long time, the needle finally slowed. It still trembled slightly, but the divination result had appeared. The heavenly secrets are concealed, a phenomenon rarely seen even once in 1,000 years, Li Xuandao muttered to himself. Then his eyebrows lifted. Although the spiritual energy is weakening and this is not a suitable time for cultivation or tribulation, what I need is not spiritual energy. What I need are methods to survive the tribulation. If the heavenly secrets are concealed, isn't this actually the perfect opportunity for me? His brows furrowed again. He hesitated. He still had no idea why the spiritual energy was weakening. If some supreme cultivator was responsible, would undergoing a tribulation here attract unwanted trouble? Then Li Xuandao thought about the situation in the imperial court. His teeth clenched. Undergo the tribulation. Better to die beneath heavenly lightning than die in the imperial court. His goal was not merely the void-crossing realm. He wanted the integration realm as well. He wanted to become an immortal emperor and eternal sovereign like the heavenly emperor of myth. Li Xuandao placed the compass down and raised both hands. The formations throughout the valley immediately began activating one after another. Curtains of light rose into the air. Spiritual energy gathered above him into a massive vortex, gradually condensing into dark clouds. With a sweep of his sleeve, the lids of every pill bottle flew open. Only then did he raise his head. The night sky was dark. Tribulation clouds churned overhead. The light of the formations illuminated the clouds clearly. As heavenly might continued gathering, determination gradually filled Li Xuandao's eyes. He had to succeed. The inheritance of the Innate Rui art consumed another half Shichen for Guan, but he considered that remarkably fast. This cultivation art was vastly more complicated than anything he had learned before, yet in such a short period, he had received memories equivalent to cultivating it for 100,000 years. That showed that his lifespan golden finger itself was becoming stronger. In the past, he had worried that as his realm increased, real-world breakthrough time would grow longer and longer. What if merely inheriting a cultivation art eventually took several days? What if a breakthrough took months? That would be ridiculous. Fortunately, he had been worrying for nothing. Guan checked the lifespan consumption of the lifespan barrier. Still manageable. Continue. He invested another 100,000 years into the Yang Wood primordial art. Another flood of notifications appeared before him, but this time he remained calm. The Yang Wood primordial art advanced into the innate earth immortal art. Only one upgrade, but the word immortal immediately filled Guan with anticipation. 2 cultivation arts with the word innate had appeared tonight. That made him think of the innate Dao talisman inside Ji Xiaoyu. Could innate represent entire stage of cultivation? If so, did that mean Ji Xiaoyu had been born with an advantage ordinary people would need more than 100,000 years of effort to obtain? No wonder she was such a monster. Guan sighed inwardly. A vast inheritance then flooded his mind. The spiritual energy of the Northern Sea mountain range weakened yet again. Living beings that had only just begun to relax immediately became tense once more. Powerful figures streaked continuously through the skies above the forest where Guan was hidden. Some were enormous demonic silhouettes as large as mountains. Yet not a single one noticed the lone man concealed in the forest below, nor did any of them realize that he was the source of the entire spiritual energy disturbance. The Northern Sea mountain range was destined to have no peaceful night. More than half a Xianxia later, Guan opened his eyes. He looked at his remaining 680,000 years of lifespan and let out a quiet breath. The lifespan barrier alone had already consumed more than 10,000 years. He was beginning to feel that the situation was less comfortable than he had hoped. His gaze shifted to the cultivation line on his status panel. He was just about to invest lifespan when a wave of battle pressure erupted from the eastern mountains. Guan frowned. Integration realm cultivators were fighting, and they were not far away. Roughly 200 li for integration realm cultivators. That distance was extremely close. Guan immediately abandoned the idea of breaking through for the moment. He would wait until they moved farther away. What if he began his breakthrough and the 2 integration realm cultivators accidentally crashed into his lifespan barrier? Honestly, if only the lifespan barrier itself could be upgraded someday. Guan sighed inwardly, though he was not afraid. If they truly broke into the barrier, he would simply have to grant them death. Reaching the integration realm was not easy. He sincerely hoped they would handle their own business properly and leave. Fortunately, events did not develop according to Guan's worst-case scenario. After fighting for a short time, the 2 integration realm cultivators began chasing each other and quickly vanished into the distance. Time to begin. Let's start with 100,000 years. Surely 100,000 years should be enough to succeed, right? You invested 100,000 years of lifespan into your cultivation for cultivation evolution. Oh. After 500 years of key cultivation, you use the great attainment of the innate earth immortal art to forcibly attack the profound heart realm and begin tribulation. You failed to survive the Kangyuan 5 Spirit Heavenly Tribulation. Breakthrough failed. After 1,500 years of Qi cultivation, you use the great attainment of the innate earth immortal art to forcibly attack the profound heart realm and begin tribulation. You failed to survive the Kangyuan 5 Spirit Heavenly Tribulation. Breakthrough failed. 1 tribulation attempt every 1,000 years. That was still acceptable. It gave him plenty of room for failure. 100 attempts should be enough eventually, right? He had already upgraded 2 cultivation arts. Failure. 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 The continuous failures made Guan's eyelids twitch. Before he had spent 50,000 years, he still felt calm. This was manageable. But when he reached 67,500 years and failed yet again, he began grinding his teeth. 68 failures. Who could possibly endure this? And the failures continued. After 81,500 years of key cultivation, you use the great attainment of the innate earth immortal art to forcibly attack the profound heart realm and begin tribulation. You fail to survive the Kangyuan 5 Spirit Heavenly Tribulation. Breakthrough failed. After 82,500 years of Qi cultivation, you use the great attainment of the innate earth immortal art to forcibly attack the profound heart realm and begin tribulation. You successfully survived the Kangyuan 5 Spirit Heavenly Tribulation. Tribulation succeeded. You break through to the first level of the profound heart realm. Oh! After 83,000 years of Qi cultivation, you break through to the second level of the profound heart realm. Oh! After 84,000 years of Qi cultivation, you break through to the third level of the profound heart realm. After 99,000 years of Qi cultivation, you use the great attainment of the innate earth immortal art to forcibly attack the great Ascension realm and begin tribulation. You failed to survive the Xuanhuang 5 God Heavenly Tribulation. Breakthrough failed. After 100,000 years of Qi cultivation, you are still preparing for tribulation. When the final notification appeared, Guan let out a breath of relief. 9th level of the profound heart realm. And the next major realm was the Great Ascension realm. Guan sighed inwardly. As expected, small realm breakthroughs were not the difficult part. The true obstacle was the heavenly tribulation. This was already absurd. Would he eventually start failing hundreds or even thousands of tribulations in a row? Spiritual energy beneath the earth surged toward Guan once again. The disturbance was not much greater than before. After all, both upgrades involved the same 100,000-year investment. Guan opened his status panel. 580,000 years of lifespan remained. He hesitated. Should he break through another major realm? Or should he upgrade divine abilities? The limitless, traceless Xianxia steps and the great yin-yang transformation absolutely had to be upgraded. Those two arts allowed him to escape danger and conceal his identity. Beyond them, he still wanted to upgrade at least 2 offensive methods. The more he thought about it, the more his lifespan suddenly seemed insufficient. Maybe he should invest less into attack techniques. He did not fight across realms anyway. Besides, the spells and supreme arts he already possessed were considered extremely profound throughout the cultivation world of the 9 dynasties. While struggling with the decision, Guan began absorbing spiritual energy and raising his actual cultivation. Vast waves of spiritual energy continuously poured into his body. His robes billowed violently, as though they might tear apart at any moment. As Guan enjoyed the steady rise in cultivation, the spiritual energy throughout the Northern Sea mountain range sank yet again. This time, violent winds accompanied it, howling through the mountains like an approaching storm. Demons, cultivators, and ghosts hurried to hide. They waited nervously for this latest wave of spiritual energy depletion to end. No one understood what was happening. They could only pray the calamity would pass quickly. Inside another valley, Li Xuandao had already begun his tribulation. A cloud of tribulation lightning hung above the valley. It did not sit as high as ordinary storm clouds, hovering only somewhat above the surrounding mountain peaks. Heavenly might accumulated within it. Lightning rolled through the darkness, appearing and disappearing, enough to make anyone's heart tremble. Li Xuandao continued circulating his cultivation art atop the formation platform. Golden dragon phantoms revolved around him, his robes whipped violently in their wake. A moment later, Li Xuandao's eyes snapped open. He looked up. A bolt of heavenly lightning suddenly crashed from the tribulation cloud. Boom! The outermost formation barrier stopped it. Before the curtain of light could even fade, a second bolt descended. Then a third. Lightning continued without pause. In an instant, the valley flashed between darkness and blinding brilliance. Li Xuandao waved his hand. A treasured sword appeared in his grasp. The moment the sword emerged, a dragon roar sounded by itself. Threads of blood-colored qi coiled around the blade. It seemed as though countless malevolent ghosts were howling and wailing within it. Li Xuandao planted the sword beside him. Then he closed his eyes and formed hand seals continuously. Spiritual power from the formation platform flowed into the arrays throughout the valley. Countless spirit stones flew from his storage bags and rapidly filled the open spaces across the platform. With his eyes still closed, Li Xuandao opened his mouth. Spirit pills flew from their bottles one after another and entered his mouth automatically. His aura continued rising. Violent winds swept through the night. Distant thunder rumbled. From high above, the entire valley looked tiny against the endless darkness of the Northern Sea mountain range. It resembled a faint speck of starlight in an infinite night. Time passed quickly. After a full shikan of accumulation, Guan finally reached the first level of the profound heart realm. Now his cultivation began climbing toward the 9th. The moment he entered the profound heart realm, his heart transformed. Golden light shimmered through it. Golden blood flowed within. A mysterious rune even appeared on its surface, like some ancient seal. While enjoying the baptism of spiritual energy, Guan focused on the rune covering his heart. A faint understanding arose from the deepest part of his soul. An innate divine ability. The profound heart rune could nurture a divine ability unique to the cultivator. How long that nurturing would take, and how powerful the ability would become, remained unknown. The divine ability itself would depend on the cultivator's life experiences and accumulated achievements. No two people would necessarily awaken the same one. Guan became completely immersed in the mystery. Through the profound heart rune, he gained new insights into many of his existing Dao arts and began reorganizing everything he had learned. At the same time, his cultivation continued breaking through. Profound Heart Realm, Level 2. Profound Heart Realm, Level 3. Profound Heart Realm, Level 4. Suddenly, Guan opened his eyes. He looked into the sky above the forest. A bolt of lightning had appeared beneath the night sky. It had not fallen from the heavens. It simply appeared in midair. And unlike normal lightning, it did not vanish after flashing. It remained suspended there, twisting wildly like a struggling serpent. "What is that?" Guan frowned. A faint unease rose within him. The bolt of lightning began splitting. Several additional arcs branched away from it. Then the space between the lightning suddenly tore open. A black spatial crack appeared. A disheveled figure leapt out from within. Lightning illuminated pale, flawless skin. Judging by the figure, it was a woman. Only ragged scraps of cloth remained on her body, barely covering anything. Clearly, her previous robes had been destroyed not long ago. Guan sensed her aura and was immediately startled. He used lifespan detection. Lü Baitian, Integration Realm, Level 9, 1089, 2750, 3700, nearly 2000 years old. This was absolutely the oldest human Guan had ever encountered. And she was at the 9th level of the Integration Realm, comparable to Lü Baitian. Just who was this woman? Lü Baitian hovered in midair. Behind her, the black spatial crack began shrinking. It quickly disappeared, taking the suspended lightning with it. She pulled a blue Taoist robe from her storage ring and covered her graceful body. Then she took out a belt and tied it around her waist. Guan no longer cared about the impropriety of looking. He only wanted to understand where this woman had come from. Lü Baitian's long hair danced in the wind, revealing an almost flawless face. Her brows remained tightly furrowed. Confusion filled her eyes. One strand of hair separated from the rest. It transformed into a white snake and landed on her shoulder. Guan immediately used lifespan detection again. White Spirit Demon Emperor, Integration Realm, Level 8, 4678, 6280, 8300. An Integration Realm demon pet? Who exactly was this woman? The White Spirit Demon Emperor flicked out its tongue and spoke in a gentle female voice. The spiritual energy is so dense, it looks like we truly ascended successfully. The legends were not false. Ascended? Guan froze. Those two words contained far too much information. Lü Baitian frowned deeply and said softly, "The heavenly lightning we crossed was truly terrifying. It nearly reduced me to ash. I flew toward the region where the lightning was weakest, and only then did I manage to enter this world. Judging by the density of spiritual energy, this place is indeed richer than our world. But whether we have truly ascended successfully still requires investigation." The White Spirit Demon Emperor looked into the distance. "The spiritual energy here is weakening, and I can sense Integration Realm Demon Chi in the distance. We clearly succeeded. For 200 years we traveled across every corner of our old world. Among the demon race, I was the only Integration Realm existence. Among humans, there were fewer than 5. Only the legendary Great Heaven and Earth of Heavenly Spirit could have Integration Realm experts appearing everywhere." The Great Heaven and Earth of Heavenly Spirit? Hearing that, Guan became even more curious. It seemed these two had come from a world weaker than this one. This world was vast beyond measure. No one truly understood its full size. The 9 dynasties occupied only one corner of a single continent. No one knew what lay across the oceans. At the very least, Guan refused to believe that the Integration Realm represented the peak of this continent, much less the absolute limit of the entire world. Immortals and gods were only legends, distant, vague, and impossible to verify. But the cultivation world itself was undeniably enormous. While Guan marveled at the scale of existence, he also quietly relaxed. For a moment, he had thought some terrifying outside power had descended upon the 9 dynasties. If these two were simply ascenders from a weaker world, then even the 9th level of the Profound Heart Realm might no longer be particularly impressive. A woman and a demon who had just ascended here had no background in this world. If they wanted to integrate into its society, it would probably take them a long time. Lü Baitian and the White Spirit Demon Emperor had no idea that someone was hidden below. They had already spread out their divine senses and confirmed that there were no humans or demons within 500 li. Only then had they spoken so openly. After talking for a while, they flew south. They sensed the strongest human vitality in that direction, while the north was saturated with demonic qi. "This is bad. Please don't go to the Taixuan Sect." Guan prayed inwardly. From what they had said, he suspected that their successful ascension might actually have been aided by his lifespan barrier. The barrier could evade heavenly tribulations. Naturally, it might also weaken heavenly lightning. That would explain why, after tearing through space, their point of arrival had happened to be directly above Guan. The thought filled him with complicated emotions. So ascenders truly existed. Anyone capable of breaking out of an entire world and entering another had to be a ruthless, extraordinary figure. With their methods, the two would probably continue living quite comfortably. Still, no. The 9th level of the Profound Heart Realm was not safe enough. He could postpone upgrading his divine abilities. First, he needed to reach the Great Ascension Realm. No matter how terrifying Lü Baitian and the White Spirit Demon Emperor were, surely neither of them could reach Great Ascension within a mere 100 years. Guan immediately opened his status panel. His cultivation was still rising, but he decided to begin the next evolution anyway. He could continue absorbing spiritual energy afterward. Same rule as before. 100,000 years for the breakthrough. Generous. Very generous. You invested 100,000 years of lifespan into your cultivation for cultivation evolution. After 1,000 years of key cultivation, you used the great attainment of the innate earth immortal art to forcibly attack the great Ascension realm and begin tribulation. You failed to survive the Xuanhuang 5 God heavenly tribulation. Breakthrough failed. After 3,000 years of qi cultivation, you used the great attainment of the innate earth immortal art to forcibly attack the great Ascension realm and begin tribulation. You failed to survive the Xuanhuang 5 God heavenly tribulation. Breakthrough failed. One tribulation attempt every 2,000 years. Guan suddenly felt uneasy. Cultivation evolution consumed more lifespan than real cultivation would require, but this still demonstrated how difficult the Great Ascension realm was. The Taixuan Sect had existed for thousands of years, yet its scripture pavilion contained no records whatsoever of the Great Ascension realm. Guan mentally prepared himself to spend another 100,000 years. After all, lifespan was merely a number until it was converted into actual strength. Failure. 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 In the end, the result was exactly what he feared. The first 100,000 years went completely to waste. Guan's face darkened. He invested another 100,000. The notifications began again. Repeated failure after repeated failure numbed his heart. His blood pressure felt like it was climbing. How could a great cultivator at the 9th level of the profound heart realm become angry so easily? Yet right now, Guan could barely control his emotions. Finally, he saw the word success. Guan released a long breath. A brilliant smile spread across his face. After 87,000 years of qi cultivation, you used the great attainment of the innate earth immortal art to forcibly attack the great Ascension realm and begin tribulation. You successfully survived the Xuanhuang 5 God heavenly tribulation. Tribulation succeeded. Your cultivation breaks through to the first level of the Great Ascension realm. After 88,000 years of qi cultivation, your cultivation breaks through to the second level of the Great Ascension realm. After 92,000 years of qi cultivation, your cultivation breaks through to the 5th level of the Great Ascension realm. After 94,000 years of qi cultivation, your cultivation breaks through to the 6th level of the Great Ascension realm. After 96,000 years of qi cultivation, your cultivation breaks through to the 7th level of the Great Ascension realm. Oh. After 99,000 years of qi cultivation, your cultivation breaks through to the 8th level of the Great Ascension realm. Oh. After 100,000 years of qi cultivation, your cultivation continues to increase. Oh. Great Ascension realm, level 8. 200,000 years of lifespan. Looking back on it, Guan felt a little frightened. Fortunately, he had succeeded. After surviving the tribulation, the subsequent lifespan cost had actually been quite reasonable. That proved upgrading his spiritual roots and cultivation arts had been worthwhile. He still remembered that going from the 1st to the 9th level of the integration realm had cost him 18,000 years in total. After reaching the 5th level, each additional level had required 3,000 years. Cultivating within the Great Ascension realm should obviously be far more difficult, yet the required time had actually decreased. That alone proved how effective his upgraded spiritual roots and cultivation arts were, and those improvements would continue benefiting him in real cultivation as well. At this moment, Guan's energy returned completely. For now, he would not worry about how strong the most powerful person on this continent might be, nor would he think about the vast lands beyond the seas. Within the 9 dynasties alone, he should already be free to move as he pleased. Lü Baitian, merely at the 9th level of the integration realm, was enough to make the entire demonic path of the Taixuan dynasty fear invasion. The Taixuan dynasty was not even the weakest of the 9 dynasties. Even if stronger existences lived in the other dynasties, they were probably only at the profound heart realm. The rising sun poured golden light across the horizon. Sunlight swept over the northern sea, passed through the mountains, and finally reached the forest where Guan sat. At this moment, his actual cultivation had reached the 7th level of the Great Ascension realm, and was still climbing toward the 8th. Guan opened his status panel. 370,000 years of lifespan remained. He felt he could still upgrade a few combat methods, but not today. After an entire night of insane cultivation, the spiritual energy in this region had become thin. He was afraid of damaging the ecosystem of the Northern Sea mountain range. Better to wait until the area recovered before returning. His next major goal would be 10 million years of lifespan. The number alone was terrifying, yet Guan remained full of fighting spirit. A cultivator's life was long, he had time. For now, he began thinking about which spells, divine abilities, or supreme arts he should upgrade next. Time continued passing. When Guan finally reached the 8th level of the Great Ascension realm, the speed at which his body absorbed spiritual energy began slowing. He patiently waited for the breakthrough process to finish. Over the course of the entire night, the lifespan barrier had consumed more than 20,000 years of lifespan. That alone showed how enormous a disturbance Guan had caused. He spread out his divine sense, curious to discover how far it could reach now. Countless landscapes flooded into his perception: mountains, rivers, demons, ghosts, cultivators, even enormous primordial relic beasts as massive as mountains. Guan reveled in the wonder of great Ascension divine sense. He suddenly sensed someone familiar. Li Xuandao. The man was undergoing a heavenly tribulation in a valley. Guan saw the formations covering the valley, the mountains of spirit stones, and all those bottles and containers arranged around him. The corner of Guan's mouth twitched. No wonder Li Xuandao cultivated so quickly. It was not merely because of extraordinary talent. He was throwing resources at cultivation like they were worthless. Guan thought about his own simulated cultivation, in which he had relied entirely on his body to endure tribulations. His heart ached. Forget it. The two situations could not be compared. In reality, Guan had never personally undergone even a single heavenly tribulation. He should be grateful. He watched for a while and concluded that Li Xuandao's tribulation should proceed safely. Then his attention moved elsewhere. He mainly wanted to find Li Ya. It did not take long for his divine sense to locate him. That reckless brat was hiding inside a cave. Judging from his aura, he seemed to have been injured yet again. Seriously. What a reckless fool? Don't go dying out there. Guan decided he would visit Li Ya later under another identity and give him some guidance. That old man living inside Li Ya was not very competent. Guan also found Hao Dragon. The creature was bullying a group of weaker demons, acting incredibly imposing while loudly declaring that it wanted to become their king. Eventually, Guan's divine sense covered the entire Northern Sea mountain range. Every corner of the region entered his perception. The sensation of overlooking everything beneath heaven was intoxicating. Integration realm demons and cultivators no longer felt particularly extraordinary in his eyes. They seemed almost like ordinary living beings. The Northern Sea mountain range truly was a place where dragons and tigers hid. Guan sensed more than 100 integration realm auras. Of course, those at the 9th level were still extremely rare. There were fewer than 5. Lu Lingjun, who had not yet left the mountain range, was among them. Guan quietly enjoyed the strength he now possessed. Only after his cultivation stopped rising and his body ceased absorbing spiritual energy did he finally deactivate the lifespan barrier. Then he stood. He stretched lazily. Sunlight slipped through gaps in the leaves and fell across his body. He felt as though he had been reborn, as expected. Achievements, reputation, profit, affection. None of them could compare to the feeling of becoming stronger. Li Ya stepped out of his cave residence. Sunlight struck his face, making him narrow his eyes. His upper body was wrapped in layers of white bandages, many already stained with blood. He raised his right hand and beckoned. A massive heavy sword flew out of the cave and landed in his palm. His right arm trembled slightly under the weight. Pain flashed across his face. "Brat, your wounds have barely closed and you already want to practice swordsmanship?" The ancestor's voice sounded beast at his ear, full of helplessness. "Are you underestimating the weight of Northern Sea nether iron, or overestimating the power that Dragon Elephant Divine Origin has given you?" Li Ya grinned. "I need to use every bit of time I have left. I must be ready before the sacred land begins recruiting disciples like you told me." The ancestor snapped. "You do not absolutely have to enter that sacred land. That is the path favored by the great clans. But didn't you say the Li clan was once as glorious as the Chu and Gu clans?" Li Ya replied. "I may not want to be a prince, but I still have a responsibility to restore the prosperity of my Li clan." He lifted the Northern Sea heavy sword and stepped forward. A small mountain rose behind him. Forests surrounded the area on every side. Only a clearing roughly 5 zhang wide remained open. After the strange phenomenon of the previous night, broken stones and fallen leaves covered the ground. The sea of clouds overhead had been torn into countless fragments. Sunlight streamed through the gaps in dazzling beams, creating a beautiful yet surreal scene. Li Ya gritted his teeth and swung the heavy sword. The weapon had been forged under the ancestor's guidance, using extremely rare nether iron found only in the Northern Sea. The sword alone weighed 10,000 jin. Once infused with spiritual power, its weight could multiply several times over. Even without using spiritual energy, merely swinging it with his wounded body required enormous effort. Suddenly, a violent gust of force swept from deep within the forest. Li Ya's expression changed. He turned instinctively and raised the heavy sword to block. Bang! Li Ya was blasted backward. He crashed into a cliff face, sending broken stone flying. A mouthful of blood burst from his lips. When he fell, he drove the heavy sword into the ground to steady himself. Even then, he still dropped to one knee. The white bandages across his body rapidly turned red as countless wounds reopened. Human brat, hand over the Dragon Elephant Divine Origin." A hoarse voice came from the forest. A demonic figure emerged. It was a man in black robes with a fox's head on a human body. Demonic ki curled around him. Sharp claws extended from both hands, each finger resembling a blade. Lü stared at him and gritted out the name. Grudge Venom Fox King. The Fox King stared back. His brows suddenly furrowed and his face twisted into something vicious. You were struck by my fox poison, yet you can still stand. Don't tell me you already swallowed the dragon elephant divine origin? His voice became shrill toward the end, making the surrounding trees tremble. Lü gripped his sword with both hands and gasped for breath. Inside his heart, he shouted, "Ancestor, looks like I'll have to rely on you again." The ancestor groaned. Do you seriously think this old ancestor's soul power is endless? Saving you over the last several nights has nearly exhausted me. I don't believe you. You say that every single time. You unfilial bastard. How did the Li clan produce a descendant like you? Who told you to stay inside my body, constantly devour my spiritual power, alter the manifestation of my spiritual roots, and make the sect test me as someone with mixed spiritual roots? You, Lü, and the ancestor cursed each other inside his mind. The argument became so heated that Lü started coughing. The Grudge Venom Fox King walked toward him. Killing intent locked onto Lü, making him feel as though he had fallen into an icy abyss. At that moment, Lü's vision suddenly darkened. He instinctively looked up. A dark purple-black silhouette stood before him. It's him. Lü immediately remembered the time he had been badly injured by Elder Chen outside Mystic Valley. This mysterious demonic cultivator had been the one who saved him then. According to his ancestor, the mysterious figure used the demonic shadow divine art of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. Lü had racked his brain trying to understand what connection he could possibly have with the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. In the end, he had dismissed that first rescue as coincidence. But now, he was shocked. The mysterious demonic cultivator had appeared again. Guan, currently using the Great Yin-Yang transformation, looked toward the Grudge Venom Fox King. He sensed that the fox demon was only around the divine transformation realm. Still, for safety, Guan used lifespan detection. It cost him nothing now, after all. Grudge Venom Fox King, Divine Transformation Realm, Level 4. 1,409, 2,900, 3,100. Good. An honest demon. The Grudge Venom Fox King could not see through Guan's cultivation and immediately became tense. Who are you? Guan raised a hand and pointed into the distance, signaling for him to leave. Guan did not enjoy killing enemies who had no grudge with him. He could already obtain lifespan from medicinal herbs. Because of that, he wanted to preserve some humanity in himself. If he grew too fond of killing, he might eventually become reckless, arrogant, or careless. And that kind of personality invited catastrophe. The Fox King's expression shifted repeatedly. Eventually, he cupped his fists, turned, and began leaving. A notification suddenly appeared before Guan. The Grudge Venom Fox King has developed hostility towards you and hates you to the bone. Would you like to perform lifespan detection on him? Oh. Guan blinked. Hates me to the bone? That much hatred? So you chose death. Guan raised his right hand and made a grasping motion through the air. Terrifying Great Ascension spiritual power erupted. The Grudge Venom Fox King's body exploded instantly. His primordial spirit was crushed into nothing but ash. Guan used no spell, no divine ability. He simply suppressed the demon with overwhelming spiritual power. If the Fox King had been carrying a valuable storage bag, perhaps Guan might have used a gentler method. A lifespan notification followed soon afterward. Not bad. He obtained 190 years of lifespan. That matched his previous guess. The amount he could seize was roughly between 5 and 20% of the target's remaining lifespan. Lü remained kneeling on one knee, completely stunned. A divine transformation demon king had died just like that? Lü had not even seen how the mysterious cultivator attacked. He had simply reached through the air and crushed the demon to death. How is that possible? What realm is he in? The ancestor's terrified voice echoed inside Lü's mind. Even his voice was trembling. This time, Guan heard the soul speaking inside Lü. Even at the Great Ascension realm, Guan could not directly hear the thoughts of living beings. However, the soul inside Lü communicated using soul power. Every sentence created an extremely faint fluctuation. Such ripples could not escape the senses of a Great Ascension cultivator. Guan turned and looked at Lü. Lü immediately recoiled in fright until his back pressed against the cliff. His realm may be even higher than mine was when I was alive, the ancestor said grimly inside Lü's mind, his tone carrying a trace of sorrow. In his view, Lü was certainly going to die, and so was he. Hearing that, Lü became completely terrified. All his life, the ancestor had been the strongest existence in his heart. That was precisely why Lü dared to behave so recklessly, because he always had the ancestor protecting him. Now even the ancestor could not protect him. How could he not panic? Guan watched Lü looking as though he might die of fright and nearly laughed, but he genuinely feared scaring the fool to death. So he gathered spiritual power around his throat, changed his voice, and spoke. I have saved you twice now. What? Do you really think I intend to kill you? Liya immediately relaxed. Then Guan's next sentence made him tense all over again. If I truly wanted to kill you, the soul hiding inside your body would not be able to save you. He can see the soul inside me? Liya was horrified. That revelation confused him even more than the possibility of death. Guan casually waved his hand. The Northern Sea heavy sword flew through the air and landed in his grasp. The 10,000 jin weapon seemed as light as a feather in his hand. Only the violent gusts stirred by its movement revealed just how heavy it truly was. Seeing the mysterious figure holding his sword, Liya's heart nearly leapt into his throat. He had no idea what the man intended. Brat, your swordsmanship is far too slow. I'm not satisfied with your progress. How about I teach you a sword art? Guan's weathered voice made Liya freeze. Teach me a sword art? Liya wondered whether he had heard incorrectly, but the mysterious cultivator did not sound as though he was joking. The ancestor's voice echoed within him. There is no need to doubt him. With his cultivation, there is nothing on your body worth plotting for. Even if the entire Li clan were included, it still would not be enough. He must have some connection with you. For whatever reason, he seems inclined to look after you. Guan held the Northern Sea heavy sword and pointed it toward Liya. At that moment, Liya's heart nearly stopped. Being faced by Guan's sword created a suffocating pressure. Before Liya could think further, sword intent erupted from the tip. It shot directly into his eyes. His entire body stiffened. Within both of Liya's pupils, a figure appeared, swinging a sword. The technique it displayed was none other than the Taixuan Shocking God Sword. No one knew how much time passed. When Liya finally regained consciousness, Guan was gone. Only the Northern Sea heavy sword remained standing before him. Autumn winds blew through the clearing but could not move the blade in the slightest. The Taixuan Shocking God Sword, Liya murmured. Then something occurred to him. His expression changed violently. This sword intent. It's the sword intent of the Fudao Sword Venerable. Liya had once visited the heaven-mending platform and personally experienced the sword intent contained in the words righteous Tao. He had never forgotten it. After all, it belonged to the strongest sword cultivator he had ever known. Ancestor, that person was the Fudao Sword Venerable. He wasn't a demonic cultivator. Liya immediately became excited. His fists even clenched. The profundity of the Taixuan Shocking God Sword made his blood boil. He felt as though he had obtained an unparalleled inheritance, one that might even surpass the dragon elephant divine origin. If he could master the Taixuan Shocking God Sword, Liya was confident he could sweep away every genius of his generation. He remained excited for quite some time. Then he suddenly realized that his ancestor had fallen silent. Ancestor? Why aren't you saying anything? A trace of panic rose inside him. Could the Fudao Sword Venerable have taken the ancestor away? Liya might argue constantly with the old man, but without that soul inside him, he would lose much of the confidence that allowed him to roam the cultivation world so fearlessly.
I'm still here.
The ancestor's voice finally appeared. Liya immediately relaxed, but the old man's next words confused him. The Taixuan Shocking God Sword is a sword art of the Li clan. The Imperial Extreme Sword Art is actually an incomplete version of the Taixuan Shocking God Sword. Liya was stunned. In this era, no one should know the Taixuan Shocking God Sword. It was already lost when I was alive. Even the current Imperial Extreme Sword Art was reconstructed by me from the remnants. The ancestor's tone became complicated. Liya swallowed and cautiously asked, Ancestor, what exactly are you saying? Explain it clearly. He may be the founding ancestor of the Li clan. Perhaps that is why he has been looking after both you and me, the ancestor said sorrowfully. The founding ancestor of the Li clan? Liya's eyes widened. His mouth opened. He wanted to speak, but 1,000 thoughts clogged his throat and not a single word came out. After giving Liya guidance, Guan did not remain in the Northern Sea mountain range. He flew at tremendous speed all the way back toward the Taixuan Sect. 1 month later, he would return and upgrade one combat method. Then, after another half year, he would begin saving toward 10 million years of lifespan. Guan did not return directly to Mystic Valley. Instead, he went to the outer Sect city. He was in a good mood today and felt like taking a stroll. His first stop was the heaven-mending platform. Many years had passed, yet the platform was still crowded with cultivators. More than 5 void-crossing experts were present, including the ephemeral flower ghost mother. Han Ming, the great Yu-sword maniac, was still there as well. Under his guidance, Zuo Lin's swordsmanship had improved somewhat. Unfortunately, the progress had also completely extinguished Han Ming's remaining hope in the young man. Zuo Yijian had already left. According to Zuo Lin, his father had become completely absorbed in investiture of the gods and firmly believed he could comprehend his own sword Dao from the book. Master, a delighted voice came from the distance. Guan turned. Zhen Qin, wearing the robes of the law enforcement hall, hurried toward him. Guan smiled. Once she drew near, he asked, How have you been recently? Zhen Qin had followed Yilan into the law enforcement hall. Her life there was comfortable, and her cultivation had risen steadily. Pretty well. Oh, right, Master. Have you heard? Senior brother Su has joined the ephemeral flower sect. The moment Zhenqin mentioned Suhan, worry filled her face. Guan said, everyone makes their own choices. We cannot control them. Let him walk the path he chose. Guan had already tried persuading Suhan in the past. He had even promised that Suhan would not need to cripple his cultivation. It had changed nothing. Since that was the case, Guan could only respect his disciple's choice. But from now on, he had no intention of cleaning up Suhan's troubles. Unless Suhan was literally about to die in front of him, and Guan could not bear to watch, he would stay out of it. Zhenqin sighed. I wonder whether I'll ever have a chance to see him again in this lifetime. Guan rubbed her hair and smiled. The little girl has finally grown up. You even know how to feel melancholy like an adult now. Master and disciple stood at the edge of the heaven-mending platform and talked for a long time. Eventually, Zhenqin still had patrol duties to complete, so she said goodbye. Guan watched her leave, feeling a little emotional. 200 years from now, he would no longer be able to see this girl. Even as a great Ascension cultivator, he currently had no way to alter another person's maximum lifespan. Nor did he intend to try. Reincarnation was the natural state of living beings. If he forcibly tried changing everyone's fate, he would only create attachments within himself. And if he eventually failed, he would be the one left suffering. Everything around him was only a brief segment of his life. What he pursued was eternal life. Of course, that did not mean he would reject relationships with others. Human connections were what gave life its shape in the first place. After surveying the heaven-mending platform, Guan turned and left. He headed toward the pill hall. Along the way, he heard many disciples discussing the ephemeral flower sect. The sect's influence was growing rapidly. It seemed intent on unifying the demonic path. Guan did not care much. The ephemeral flower sect could not threaten the Taixuan Sect, and even if it eventually could, it still could not threaten him. He cared far more about how to increase the lifespan income generated by his medicine valleys. Although he had already reached the Great Ascension realm, Guan had no desire to roam the world slaughtering people. He preferred to continue accumulating lifespan through medicinal herbs. He could not become restless. He needed to remain hidden and keep developing quietly. After all, he still had not confirmed whether he was truly invincible under heaven. Reason told him he was still very far from that point. Lu Lingjun, an ascender from another world, was proof enough. This world was simply too vast. After some time, Guan entered the Grand Elder's estate to visit Xianxia. She was already waiting for him. The moment he entered, she swept her sleeve and slammed the main doors shut. Guan took out the medicinal herbs he had stored. Xianxia did not even count them. She swept them aside with another wave of her sleeve, then looked at him. I'm leaving. Guan became curious. Where are you going? The Taixuan Sect is becoming increasingly suspicious of me. I can sense killing intent closing in. I plan to join the Ephemeral Flower Sect. The Ephemeral Flower Sect again. Just what kind of background did this faction have? Guan thought for a moment. Then he took out a large number of azure vine fruits and placed them on the floor. Take these with you. Xianxia looked at the fruits and smiled strangely. You little brat, you didn't keep any for yourself? Azure vine fruits did not grow quickly. For Guan to produce this many meant he had barely consumed any himself. My talent is mediocre. If I strengthen my ki and blood too much, people will notice and I'll only invite trouble. Better to remain ordinary all the way to the end, Guan said, shaking his head. Xianxia laughed. You really are free of desire. Mediocre talent? Isn't your comprehension of the sword Tao extremely strong? But I don't like practicing the sword, and I don't want to become a swordsman. Suppose you found me a master. Think about it, a foundation establishment swordsman with an unparalleled sword art. Would that really make my life easier? Guan spoke seriously. Xianxia thought about it and found his reasoning sound. In the cultivation world, cultivation realm was still the most important foundation. She stopped arguing over the matter. The Ephemeral Flower Sect and the Taixuan Sect will inevitably fight one day. Once I establish myself there, perhaps I can come take you away in the future. Another war? Guan frowned. Why did the Taixuan Sect suffer so many disasters? The Ephemeral Flower Sect is not simple, Xianxia continued. It may be an outside force. Half the pavilion masters of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion have already submitted to it. I have been hiding inside the Taixuan Sect, yet they still managed to reach me and recruit me. Their intelligence network is terrifying. The Ephemeral Flower Sect had already reached into the Taixuan Sect? Guan immediately asked. You didn't mention me, did you? Of course not. With cultivation like yours, even if I mentioned you, no one would care. Xianxia gave him a sidelong look. Guan smiled. To Xianxia, the expression looked honest and simple. This foolish disciple. She shook her head and laughed. Though inwardly she could not help worrying about how he would survive after she left, she warned him. I heard the new Outer Sect Grand Elder is extremely ruthless. Be careful. People from the law enforcement hall have already investigated you before. Relying on your junior sister to vouch for you probably won't be enough forever. When you enter the 8 Centuries Cave Heaven, always check your surroundings carefully. And try not to sell azure vine fruits anymore. Guan nodded. I'll remember. They talked for the time it took an incense stick to burn. Then Guan said goodbye and left. After leaving the Grand Elder's estate, he headed back toward Mystic Valley. Autumn passed, winter arrived. Heavy snow gradually covered Mystic Valley. One day, Mystic Valley received a visitor. Guan entertained him in the pavilion. The Sect Master has instructed me personally. From now on, if you encounter any trouble in the Outer Sect, come directly to me. Lü Songhan laughed warmly. He was the newly appointed Outer Sect Grand Elder. Lü Songhan had silver-white hair, but his face was not old. When he smiled, he looked almost foolishly harmless. Yet despite his friendliness toward Guan, he was actually a nascent soul cultivator. According to Xianxia, he was also an extremely ruthless and difficult man. Guan raised his cup. Then I'll have to thank Elder Lü for looking after me. The two drank and talked. The more they spoke, the more compatible they seemed. By the end, they were even addressing each other like brothers. It was already noon when Guan finally saw Lü Songhan off. The moment he left, Yang Ni appeared beside Guan like a ghost. She clicked her tongue in amazement. You really are becoming more impressive. Even a nascent soul cultivator is calling you brother now. Guan shrugged. You can call me Brother Gu too. Are you looking to die? Yang Ni glared at him as though she were about to draw her sword. Guan coughed lightly. I heard the ephemeral flower sect is rising rapidly. Keep a closer watch over Mystic Valley from now on. Don't let thieves from that sect sneak in and steal medicinal herbs. Yang Ni paused, then nodded slightly. Guan turned and left. She watched him step onto the teleportation platform and disappear. Strange. Why did he suddenly mention the ephemeral flower sect to me? Could he have guessed my identity? Yang Ni frowned in thought. Late that night, heavy snow covered the mountains of the Northern Sea mountain range. Guan sat on a cliff. The lifespan barrier was active. He invested 100,000 years of lifespan into the limitless traceless Xianxia steps. The limitless traceless Xianxia steps successfully advanced into the limitless freedom steps. Its mastery remained at peak perfection. The surrounding spiritual energy began sinking. Guan entered the inheritance process. Half a Xianxians later, he opened his eyes. He had completely mastered the limitless freedom steps. This movement art could predict the trajectories of enemy attacks. It could cross restrictions and formations. It could even step directly upon Dharma manifestations. Its uses were extraordinary. It was suitable both for fighting and escaping. 1 month from now, he would return to upgrade the great yin-yang transformation. If the demonic shadow divine art could be developed into an even stronger concealment art, it would fit his path of cultivation perfectly. Guan stood and flew back toward the Taixuan Sect. Along the way, he spread out his divine sense and searched for Li Ya. Li Ya was practicing swordsmanship beside the Northern Sea. He was extremely diligent. Guan wondered how long it would take him to master the Taichung Shocking God sword. He suddenly began looking forward to a duel between Li Ya and Un Hao. Imagine both of them simultaneously using the Taichung Shocking God sword. Just thinking about their shocked expressions amused him. How interesting. Guan then searched for Hao Dragon. But the dragon was nowhere in the Northern Sea mountain range. Had the local demons driven it away? There was even a possibility that something had eaten it. If that had truly happened, Guan could only blame the dragon's terrible luck. Before dawn, he hurried back to Mystic Valley. A new year arrived. The New Year festival came with it. Lü Baitian visited the Third Medicine Valley and brought En Hao, his newly accepted disciple, to join the celebration. En Hao later went to the Outer Sect and brought En Jin over as well. En Jin had grown into a graceful young woman. Standing beside En Hao, the two looked almost like a naturally matched pair. With 300 servant disciples, the Third Medicine Valley was extraordinarily lively. Guan planned to return to Mystic Valley that night. He could not neglect one place, simply because he was caring for another. Guan and Lü Baitian sat beneath a tree drinking wine. They talked mostly about trivial matters in the Third Medicine Valley. Lü Baitian listened with obvious enjoyment. According to him, after living for several hundred years, the most relaxed period of his entire life had been the time he spent in the Third Medicine Valley. If you love Medicine Valley life so much, why don't you give up the Sect Master position and retire here? Guan asked with a smile. His relationship with Lü Baitian had grown much closer, so he now dared to joke with him. Of course, the greatest source of Guan's confidence was still his own great Ascension cultivation. Lü Baitian shook his head and smiled. If you do not advance, you retreat. If I give up the Sect Master position, it will not be long before someone brands me a traitor to the Taixuan Sect. All kinds of filth will be thrown onto my name. I might even somehow become a spy of the demonic path. Besides, the Lü clan and Gu clan support me. They would never allow me to step down. In the Taixuan Sect, cultivation is the most important thing. But sometimes, it is not quite as important as people think. His tone carried deeper meaning, as though he were hinting at something to Guan. Guan changed the subject. A new faction called the Ephemeral Flower Sect has appeared in the cultivation world recently. You must have heard about it. After spending so many years in the Taixuan Sect, Guan had naturally developed some attachment to it. Lü Baitian nodded slightly. He lifted the wine pot, filled Guan's cup and said, "The Taixuan Sect learned of the Ephemeral Flower Sect long ago. In fact, 200 years ago, they already tried to infiltrate the Taikong dynasty. At that time, the imperial clan was being manipulated by them. I led the Taixuan Sect into battle against the Ephemeral Flower Sect at the Northern Sea and forced them back. Their return this time is probably because they believe the Taixuan Sect has just survived a major war and suffered severe losses. And honestly, they are not wrong. For the moment, the Taixuan Sect does not have enough strength to stop the Ephemeral Flower Sect from swallowing the demonic path." Guan frowned. "Then what are we supposed to do? Just watch them grow?" Lü Baitian remained calm. "It does not matter. The Ephemeral Flower Sect has spies in the Taixuan Sect, and we have eyes inside the Ephemeral Flower Sect. They possess many branches, but the Taixuan Sect still has not fully uncovered their origins. To win every battle, you must first know yourself and know your enemy. We can wait a little longer. Besides, I am preparing for a breakthrough myself. I intend to challenge my heavenly fate. That's what you call it doesn't matter? You don't even know how strong the enemy actually is." Guan felt Lü Baitian was merely pretending to be calm. The real reason he had not attacked the Ephemeral Flower Sect was probably because he wanted to break through first. "Since we are talking about the Ephemeral Flower Sect, I plan to send 10 of the most talented disciples in the sect to the Third Medicine Valley," Lü Baitian said with a smile. "They can protect you while also cultivating their state of mind by following you." Guan froze. What kind of state of mind are they supposed to cultivate here? I can't teach them anything. You do not need to teach them. Let them integrate into life here. If they can quiet their hearts, that will be enough. Lü Baitian shook his head. Guan suddenly became suspicious. Could this old fox have realized that he was the Fudao Sword Venerable? Otherwise, why treat him so well? And now he was even sending the sect's top geniuses to him. The excuse was cultivating the heart. But was the true goal to let the Fudao Sword Venerable give them a few pointers? Guan decided to probe him. Why not let the Fudao Sword Venerable teach these disciples? Doesn't the cultivation world praise him as the strongest cultivator under heaven? Lü Baitian frowned. To tell you the truth, we have no idea who the Fudao Sword Venerable really is. He may be a hidden ascetic cultivator. There are precedents for that within the Taixuan Sect. The sect has existed for thousands of years and has more than 1 million disciples. There will always be a few who encounter enormous opportunities, overturn their fate, and yet refuse to show themselves publicly. He paused. There is another possibility. The Fudao Sword Venerable may be one of the sect's supreme elders. Supreme elders are usually like divine dragons whose heads are seen but whose tails remain hidden. Sometimes they return without warning and catch even us unprepared. Think about the 2 words, righteous Tao, on the heaven-mending platform. Perhaps a supreme elder was using them to point out the problems in the Taixuan Sect's current conduct. There really are supreme elders. No wonder Lü Baitian never seems particularly afraid. What truly made Guan relax, however, was that Lü Baitian clearly had not connected him with the Fudao Sword Venerable. Thinking about it again, Guan suddenly felt he had been overthinking things. How old was he? How could anyone reasonably believe he was the Fudao Sword Venerable? At most, they might assume he had some connection to the mysterious swordsman. Once that concern disappeared, Guan asked, "Sect Master, if your breakthrough succeeds, could you wipe out the Ephemeral Flower Sect?" Lü Baitian smiled. "If the Ephemeral Flower Sect is still only as strong as it was 200 years ago, then after I break through, I could sweep them away by myself." He lifted his chin proudly. "Brat, do you know what realm I am in?" Guan pretended to think. "Probably, above the divine transformation realm." Ha ha ha. Lü Baitian burst into loud laughter, attracting the attention of distant disciples. Guan watched him showing off and secretly enjoyed himself. Above divine transformation is void crossing. Above void crossing is integration. And I am at the 9th level of the integration realm. Lü Baitian lowered his voice as he spoke. Guan clearly sensed spiritual power spreading out and forming a barrier around them so the surrounding disciples could not eavesdrop. Guan put on an astonished expression. 9th level of the integration realm. How many years would someone have to cultivate to reach that? Haha. With your talent, forget the integration realm. Whether you can even reach the nascent soul realm in this lifetime is questionable. Become my disciple. When my time comes, my cultivation will become yours. Once again, Lü Baitian dangled the offer before him, his voice filled with temptation. Guan deliberately showed longing and excitement. Lü Baitian was delighted inside. The brat took the bait, then Guan shook his head. Forget it. Standing at the top is not necessarily a good thing. Even someone like you has moments when you cannot control your own life. And how high does cultivation have to be before it is truly high enough? Wouldn't enjoying life be more meaningful? Lü Baitian nearly spat blood. This brat truly had no understanding of how vicious the cultivation world could be. If the Taixuan Sect were not protecting him, how could Guan possibly live so freely? Lü Baitian opened his mouth to argue. Then he remembered the suggestions Guan had given him about the outer sect, as well as the lessons Guan had unknowingly taught him. The words died in his throat. Wasn't Guan's temperament precisely the reason Lü Baitian valued him? A person free of ambition and desire becoming Sect Master might actually be a blessing for the Taixuan Sect. Guan did not want the position now. That did not mean he would never want it. And Lü Baitian was still far from reaching the end of his lifespan. He convinced himself with that logic. Guan continued, Sect Master, what realm comes after integration? He was trying to probe the true depth of the Taixuan Sect. Lü Baitian smiled faintly. Become my disciple, and I'll tell you. Why are you so determined to make me your disciple? Haven't you already accepted An Hao? Why not train him to become the next Sect Master? His background is unclear, and he once acknowledged Chu Tianqi as his master. I accepted him because I value talent. That does not mean I trust him. And you absolutely trust me? Of course. I investigated your entire background. You were raised as a servant by the Ji clan. You have some connection to Li Xuandao. You may even be connected to the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, but I can tell you had little choice in any of it. Your connection to Li Xuandao exists because of Li Ya. Your connection to the Thousand Autumn Pavilion exists because of the former Valley Master. Lü Baitian finished speaking with the expression of a man who had seen through everything long ago. Guan let his eyes shift dramatically, as though Lü Baitian had exposed his deepest secrets. The reaction greatly satisfied Lü Baitian. I never expected you to know all of that, Guan said nervously. I truly had no choice. Should I cut ties with them from now on? Lü Baitian waved a hand. No need. Continue exactly as before. Suddenly cutting ties would only bring trouble to you. Perhaps I can even obtain information about them through you in the future. Besides, spies in the Taixuan Sect are as numerous as stars. There are already more than 1,000 spies I know about and have deliberately left untouched. Guan suddenly found it difficult to comment. He could only look at Lü Baitian with admiration. Lü Baitian became even more pleased. He began recounting major historical crises caused by spies. Whenever such chaos erupted, Lü Baitian would appear to sweep all the spies away in one operation. In reality, he deliberately kept half of them alive. The other half of the people he purged were often internal political opponents whom he conveniently branded as demonic spies and eliminated alongside the real ones. As for the surviving demonic spies, Lü Baitian sometimes promoted them. Those spies would naturally believe they had earned deep trust. Some abandoned the demonic path and genuinely switched allegiance. Others became increasingly reckless, which simply gave Lü Baitian useful targets for the next purge. The two talked for a long time. Gradually, Guan realized that Lü Baitian was teaching him how to handle sect affairs. It was not until evening that Guan returned alone to Mystic Valley and joined the disciples in their celebration. When the atmosphere became especially lively, Guan suddenly announced that Lü Jujia would become his senior disciple and take charge of the valley's major and minor affairs. Lü Jujia was completely stunned. Yang Ni frowned. He really does suspect me. Normally, he barely interacts with that disciple named Lü Jujia. Why would he suddenly appoint him senior disciple? She felt she needed to take some action. Guan had no idea what Yang Ni was thinking. He chose Lü Jujia simply because there was no one else suitable. As for Yang Ni, Guan assumed she would leave sooner or later. He had never considered making her his senior disciple. Late that night, after the banquet ended and everyone returned to their rooms, Guan quietly entered the 8 centuries cave heaven. Recently, he had been studying the eternal profound art and had gained some understanding of it. He walked beneath the azure vine tree. With a thought, a figure shot from one of the cave entrances like a whirlwind, scattering leaves and grass along the way. It was Meng Lang, now transformed into an ancient corpse. Guan controlled him with divine sense and ordered him to harvest a mature medicinal herb. Meng Lang plucked the herb. Guan waited and waited. No lifespan notification appeared. The plan had failed. Looks like I still have to harvest them myself. Guan felt a little regretful but was not disappointed. The Third Medicine Valley and Xianxia Valley had both entered full production. His yearly lifespan income was now at least 100,000 years and still increasing. In less than a century, he could accumulate 10 million years. That speed already satisfied Guan enormously. After all, how many cultivation realms could an ordinary cultivator cross in 100 years? He ordered Meng Lang back into the cave. Then he drew the Tiansu sword and began practicing the wood spirit sword art. At dawn the next morning, Guan descended from the pavilion and led the disciples through their exercises. Yang Ni joined them. The moment training ended, she hurried into the forest. Guan felt her expression was unusual today. Something was clearly different. He observed her for a while and discovered that Yang Ni was planting seeds deep in the forest. His eyebrows twitched. Those seeds looked strange. Guan was a great Ascension cultivator with an extraordinary memory. After examining them carefully, he immediately realized he had never seen this species before. He walked over and approached Yang Ni from behind. "What are you planting?" Guan asked curiously. As Yang Ni stood up, he quietly sent a strand of divine sense toward the seeds in her palm and performed lifespan detection. 6th grade. 125,000. A 6th grade's spirit flower, and its name is Ephemeral Flower. Guan could hardly avoid connecting it with the Ephemeral Flower Sect. Yang Ni replied, "I obtained these from an enemy's storage bag many years ago. I don't know exactly what they're called. The seeds have been sitting as bag for decades, and I only remembered them today." "Is that so?" Guan murmured thoughtfully. Yang Ni studied his expression. "Yes, can they not be planted? Plant them." Guan smiled. He did not expose the flower's possible origin. Yang Ni wanted to plant 6th grade spirit flowers. Why would he refuse? In the end, he would be the one harvesting them anyway. Guan casually exchanged a few more words with her, then turned and walked away. Yang Ni watched his back. She found him increasingly difficult to understand. "I was actually frightened by a foundation establishment brat." She mocked herself inwardly, then crouched again and continued planting the ephemeral flowers. Whatever Guan suspected did not matter. As long as he allowed her to plant them, she would do it. She glanced at his departing figure. "Once I achieve success and make a name for myself, I'll protect your life. Then I'll introduce you into the Ephemeral Flower Sect." After living together for so many years, Yang Ni genuinely liked Guan. It would be a pity for a junior like him to die in some sect conflict. Someone with his talents belonged somewhere he could continue putting them to use. After the new year, all things came back to life, and the Taixuan Sect became lively once more. At the beginning of the 3rd month, Guan and Shenzhen were upstairs discussing books. Suddenly, they both sensed something and lowered the books in their hands. Guan cleared his throat. "Put all of this away." Shenzhen's face flushed red. She hurriedly stuffed all the drawings spread across the table into her storage bag. Only after everything was cleaned up did the two go downstairs. They walked into the open area in front of the pavilion. Groups of cultivators were flying toward them from the horizon. Among them, Guan recognized one familiar person, Ji Xiaoyu. There were 11 cultivators in total. Guan continuously used divine sense to inspect their lifespans. Aside from the cultivator leading the group, all 10 others were under 100 years old. The weakest was already at the 8th level of the core formation realm. 2 had even reached the nascent soul realm. Nascent soul before the age of 100. Terrifying talent. Even the lowest maximum lifespan among these geniuses exceeded 2,000 years. The leading cultivator was named Lu Shen. He was at the 2nd level of the void crossing realm. After landing, he cupped his fists toward Guan. "These 10 are the disciples the Sect Master assigned here to cultivate their hearts. From now on, Valley Master Gu, I leave them all in your care." He was exceptionally polite toward Guan. There was none of the arrogance one might expect from a void-crossing expert. That made Guan increasingly curious about what Lü Baitian had actually done. Everyone in the Lü clan really knew how to conduct themselves. Guan returned the salute. "Thank you for the trouble, senior." Seeing how courteous he was, Lu Shen smiled, nodded, and flew away. Guan turned toward the 10 Taixuan Sect geniuses. They were studying him as well. "Miss Shen, why are you here?" A green-robed man frowned. Seeing Shenzhen standing behind Guan clearly displeased him. His name was Lu Yu. He was at the 9th level of the core formation realm. His maximum lifespan reached 2,409 years. Shenzhen ignored him. Instead, she turned to Guan. "Your Medicine Valley has guests now. I'll take my leave. Next time we can continue together." With that, she rose into the air and quickly disappeared beyond the mountains. "Continue together?" Everyone's gaze toward Guan immediately became strange. Cold light flashed through Liu Yu's eyes. A system notification appeared. "Liu Yu has developed hostility toward you and wishes to attack you. Would you like to perform lifespan detection on him?" "Wishes to attack me? What level of hatred is that supposed to be?" Guan immediately explained. "Miss Shen and I simply enjoy reading. We occasionally exchange thoughts about books. There is nothing else between us. She has already told me that the Dao companion she seeks is the Fudao sword venerable." These were all young geniuses. Hearing that, several could not help laughing. Lü Yu forced an awkward smile and gave Guan an apologetic look. They were not fools. Lü Baitian had personally ordered Guan to guide them. That alone meant Guan had something extraordinary about him. Even if he did not, he was still someone protected by Lü Baitian. None of them dared casually offend him. The Taixuan Sect pampered geniuses, but being a genius did not mean they could do whatever they pleased. If Lü Baitian wanted to discipline them, even their clans would need to think carefully before objecting. Xiaoyu spoke. "Valley Master, what should we do? Please give us your instructions." The moment she spoke, the others stopped smiling and looked at Guan with anticipation. The Sect Master had said they were here to cultivate their hearts. They instinctively believed this training would somehow benefit their cultivation later. Guan smiled. "Then follow me. Do not complain about exhaustion. Do not complain about hardship. No one is allowed to quit halfway. Only trash abandons something before seeing it through." The moment those words fell, anticipation in their eyes grew even stronger. They looked at one another with sparks of competition. Every genius had a competitive heart. After that, Guan led the 10 geniuses into a forest dozens of li away. He ordered them to clear the land, taught them how to sow seeds, and then led them around the valley inspecting medicinal herbs. The work was simple and ordinary, yet all 10 disciples treated it with complete seriousness. They were so meticulous that they barely dared overlook even a single stone along the path. This continued for several days. Eventually, someone could no longer endure it. A disciple named Chang stopped and looked at Guan. "Are you playing with us?" he asked in a deep voice. "Is cultivating the heart really just making us work as medicine boys?" The others also looked toward Guan. Even Xiaoyu frowned. Guan had known from the beginning that this arrangement was questionable, but Lü Baitian had insisted on it. With a sigh, he took 10 books from his storage bag and tossed one to each of them. Everyone immediately brightened and eagerly caught the books. The Shenzhou Classic? One disciple read the title, eyes shining. Even the name sounded extraordinary. Guan turned away. "Comprehend it yourselves." With that, he left them behind to read. Liu Yu opened the first page and murmured, "The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name." With his back turned to them, the corner of Guan's mouth lifted. The Shenzhou Classic was not actually the Tao Te Ching. Guan had simply gathered famous classical sayings from ancient China that remained in his memories from his previous life and stitched them together into a miscellaneous collection. As long as it sounded profound enough to intimidate people, that was sufficient. He could not bear to write out the actual Tao Te Ching. What if someone really comprehended something from it? After obtaining the Shenzhou Classic, Xiaoyu and the others each found their own places to study it. No one disturbed anyone else. The daily rhythm of the Third Medicine Valley remained unchanged despite their presence. 5 days later, Xiaoyu closed the Shenzhou Classic and looked down at the servant disciples working busily beneath the mountain. She thought for a moment. Then she stood and descended the mountain to help. A genius cultivating atop the opposite mountain noticed her actions. As though suddenly understanding something, he also rose and descended. None of them had managed to truly comprehend the Shenzhou Classic, but the book undeniably seemed profound and mysterious. Thinking back to the tasks Guan had originally assigned them, they began wondering whether the true enlightenment might be hidden within ordinary rural labor. Another 10 days passed. By then, all the genius disciples had thrown themselves into the Medicine Valley's chores. Every day they worked diligently. During their free time, they studied the Shenzhou Classic. At night, they cultivated qi. Guan was extremely satisfied. They truly deserved to be called the 10 top geniuses personally selected by Lü Baitian. Talent aside, not one of them was genuinely stupid. Once they believed something was the correct path, they could commit themselves completely and persevere. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. Guan was now 59 years old. One day, while in Xianxia Valley, he had just finished harvesting medicinal herbs when he suddenly sensed something. His expression changed. He immediately tossed the herbs to Sunda beside him and hurried out of Xianxia Valley. Luohun and the others found his behavior strange but did not think much of it. Ever since Lu Xian learned that Guan had mastered the Azure Sea Shocking Wave Palm, he had stopped pestering Guan. In fact, he had stopped pestering everyone else as well. He spent nearly every day in seclusion, cultivating as though possessed. His realm was rising extremely quickly. At this pace, he would likely form his nascent soul within only a few years. After leaving the 100-li range surrounding Xianxia Valley, Guan vanished into the void. 3 steps later, he had crossed 10,000 li and arrived at Mystic Valley. From there, he used the teleportation platform to enter the Third Medicine Valley. The moment he stepped off the formation, he hurried toward the Xuanqing tree. The tree was still there, but someone was standing before it, quietly observing. From a distance, Guan sent out a thread of divine sense and performed lifespan detection. Zhong Ying Integration Realm, Level 4, 860, 2800, 3100. This man cultivated a special concealment art. On the surface, he appeared to be only at the 2nd level of the nascent soul realm. Guan immediately became interested in his cultivation technique. His great Ascension divine sense could tell that Zhang Ying was hiding his realm. But even then, it could not completely unravel the method being used. Guan walked directly toward the Xuanqing tree. "I am Guan Valley, master of this medicine valley. May I ask who you are?" Zhang Ying wore Taoist robes. He was ugly, with tiny eyes and a thin goatee. At a glance, he looked like exactly the sort of person who was up to no good. He smiled and raised a hand. "I am an inner sect disciple named Zhang Ying. I happened to pass by and sensed that this tree was extraordinary. Could this be the legendary Xuanqing tree?" Guan stepped forward. His right hand closed around Zhang Ying's wrist. He applied only a little force, the strength of a foundation establishment cultivator. Then he smiled. "It is indeed the Xuanqing tree. Do you want it?" Zhang Ying almost laughed. A tiny foundation establishment cultivator dared put his hands on him? Had the Taixuan Sect truly run out of people? They actually assigned a foundation establishment cultivator to raise the Xuanqing tree? Then again, perhaps that was exactly the point. Someone this weak would never draw suspicion. Zhang Ying prepared to shake Guan off. He used the strength of a nascent soul cultivator, believing that would be more than enough to humiliate the man. 1 second later, Zhang Ying's expression changed violently. His gaze became grave. His brows locked together. He struggled harder. His expression changed again. Shock filled his face. Then the shock became fear. How is this possible?